This is the Committee on Government Operations, Public Safety, and Public Service. This is Thursday, March 24th. We're at 6 p.m. I have Council McKinnon.
Here.
I got Council Capone.
Here.
Council Delshula.
Here.
And Council McLaughlin.
Here.
We have 4 members present. We do have a quorum.
Please stand, salute the flag. Please read item number 1.
All right, the first piece of business is a resolution up by Council McLaughlin to invite the Chief of Police to this meeting for an update regarding steps being taken before the opening of the Wynn Boston Harbor.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I'd like to invite up both Chief Mazie and Officer Jeff McCabe, please.
Jeff's position is what?
Is associate to the Patrolman's Union.
Okay, we'll take a vote on that.
Sure.
Okay, it's been made motion to have Mr. McCabe and the Chief of Police up before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, you have done so. Chief and Officer, is it Sergeant McCabe now? Officer McCabe. We gave you a raise.
Mr. President, I'd like to just start by making a brief statement, if I could, and then we'll get into discussion.
Do you want
We can,
Officer McCabe up?
wait, please.
Or, Officer McCabe, could you come up, please?
Mr. McCabe, how are you, sir? Good evening.
If you could both just state your names and titles, please.
Just,
Good evening, Steve Mazie, Chief of Police for the City of Everett. You hit that button.
Good evening, Jeff McCabe, Everett Police Department.
Hold on, let me see.
Good evening, Jeff McCabe, Everett Police Department, Everett Patrolmen's Union.
Thank you for being here. Councilman McLaughlin?
Mr. Chairman, through you, I would like to just make a statement, which is that tonight we're going to have a discussion regarding the Wynn Casino project and what the future of our city looks like over the next few years as we go through probably the most transformative time in Everett's history. I want to make it clear that I am not against any one individual or against any group here. The chief has my utmost respect. I've known him since I was a young child. I have a lot of respect for what he does on a daily basis. So I hope that this does not become anything but a professional conversation and we can get some answers tonight. Considering this was in my ward, Ward 6, that's why I brought this forward as the counselor in the area. And I do have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions on protocol and a lot of questions on what the future of the department looks like and the future of where we go as a city over the next 30 months as Mr. Wynn and Wynn Resorts breaks ground on this project.
Okay.
So, Chief Mazie, good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for appearing. Officer McCabe, thank you for coming as well. Chief Mazie, can you briefly tell us what are your future plans? How are we going to amp up our department to be able to get ready for the most transformative time in the city's history? Do you have a outline of how we take our department, beef it up, get new equipment, get more patrolmen on the streets? Have you thought about all those types of things?
Yes, we've thought about all that and more, and we've been working on a 5-year strategic plan that is basically done. Just making some minor tweaks to it right now. I just recently submitted a staffing plan to Mayor DiMaria in the last couple of weeks. And this will look at what the department is like right now. Basically, it started in late 2015. We started working on this and to what we should look like 5 years from now. And it covers replacing offices. One of the problems we have is not only based on the needs, projected needs they're going to have with the development, and, you know, the known is Wynn's facility, and it's a very large facility. It's going to draw a lot of people. The unknown is the other development that comes along with a facility like his. So there's still a lot of question marks that we cannot answer. But I can walk you through what we look like right now and where I think we're going to be going, or should be going, based on the research that we've done. And I'll be glad to do that if you'd like.
That'd be great. I appreciate it.
Okay, so currently, we're budgeted for 100 offices. We've recently been starting to lose some of our personnel, and there were projected losses are gonna take place over the next 2 years, to include people who have to mandatory retire and people who are eligible to retire. So we believe, starting this past year up until 2017, is 10 offices that can go. Those offices have started to go. We anticipate more will go. Like I said, some are gonna be mandatory in the next couple of years. So we have to keep pace with replacing officers who are leaving. Other known factors, for Wynn's operation, because it's a gaming establishment and the mass gaming statute controls a lot of things that happen. It's estimated in my consultation with the investigation of the Mass Gaming Commission that they're gonna want 3 investigators from Everett PD to work alongside, I should say in the ballpark of 3 investigators. It's a 24-hour operation. They're gonna want, we estimate, at least 3 to be working alongside them. So these would be Everett police officers working alongside Mass State Troopers and the Game and Enforcement Unit. We do know that with a facility like this, there will be a lot of traffic issues. We expect an increase in traffic, especially in the initial opening. And when I say traffic, I'm just saying volume of people in vehicles coming here. So that does lead to some things like minor fender benders. It leads to OUIs, late night, and other issues related to that. We do know when we hire people that in Massachusetts, police academy dates fill up quickly. So if academy announces they're gonna hire a group of officers, we know that if you don't have your ducks lined up, you miss a spot to get in there. Right now, if we had officers who have been vetted and gone through a process with us and they're ready to go to an academy, there's no academies running over the summer that I know of. They'll start up in the fall again. There's been over the last 3 or 4 years, rapid hiring going on as everyone started to either backfill or replace people or get back to their numbers, and now it's starting to taper off again. That is of concern to me because the numbers that we're looking at, 2 things. The size of our department, we don't want to be taking on too many new people at once. We can't handle them because if we put 10 recruits through an academy at once, we have to field train them all at once and disperse them throughout where they're going to go in the department, which is a big endeavor. So we'd rather do smaller groups. Before you even get to that point, to do adequate background investigations takes weeks, if not months, to do them properly. You want to make sure that you screen people. We have to send them for medical screening, psychological screening, interviews, and all that stuff. And unfortunately, historically, we've had a 50% dropout rate for new recruits. People that we spend a lot of time on screening, who decide for one reason or another that it's not for them, they can't hack the rigors of the physical fitness standards and so on, or they just have a change of heart. So that's a disappointment because you invest a lot in them up front, and then they drop out, and then you start at zero, and it's not like you can throw someone, if a guy quits in the first week of the academy, we can't take another Everett officer and recruit and pluck them in there. Some of the other things we know from studying gaming operations that have been put into communities is that Part 1 and Part 2 crimes do go up. And there's a term called a tourist effect. Anytime you take a lot of people and put them in one place, there's going to be an increase in calls for service, an increase in certain crimes. Doesn't mean it's all bad stuff, but the best I can compare it to make you understand very easily is the mall. Gateway Mall, a lot of people didn't understand, is it going to be a busy place? How much business? I know a lot of us were skeptical, but when that opened and it filled up, we have what we call a lot of mall-related calls for service. It's a busy place. Not all bad, not all incidents or issues that affect the rest of the city, but they affect us because they chew up calls for service from us. We're hoping that obviously through mitigation money, that there will be funding to help us start looking at hiring above and beyond according to our plan. And the one thing, in an effort to expedite, you know, the loss of people and to get where we need to go, especially in the next few years as this project is built, we're recommending a mix of officers that get screened and recruited, that put to a police academy, as well as lateral transfers, which are officers that we can go out and recruit who are already trained, try to find people with some special skills, some diversity, some secondary language skills, and create a mix to meet the needs, especially if we see more people that are hitting retirement age, so we can keep pace. Right now, we can handle about 5 or 6 personnel comfortably to field train officer at any one time. So that slows us down. So you say you have 6 officers, you field train, they come out of an academy, we field train them for roughly 3 months. We wouldn't want to take more in that same period of time. After that, we could take on another 5 or 6 more and do that in a comfortable manner. We know during this time the supervisory staff will have to increase as well as the manpower increases. And nationwide, the national average per 1,000 population for the Department of Justice is 2.3 officers per 1,000. In the Northeast, which is where we live, it's 2.7 officers per 1,000. And based on the current population and the projected population growth, and there's a couple issues that, you know, our current census population, we believe is below. There's a lot of undocumented people still in this area, so they don't count towards census population. But without WINS project and any other development, we know based on the research that is the population is going to go up anyways. And it's projected right now at 44,700 in our community. And with WINS, I'm sorry, in 2020, the population, census population is supposed to go up 47,155.
47,155.
47,155 is the number that we have. So when you go, when you look at that on the 2.3 per 1,000 and 2.7 per 1,000, so 2.3 officers per 1,000 is 108 officers based on that population for 47,000. 2.7 per 1,000 is 127 officers. So a range from 108 to 127. In the greater Boston area right now, we are the smallest police department for personnel. Granted, some of the cities are larger geographically. We are one of the smaller ones. I think Chelsea's the only one that's smaller than us. But it's Chelsea, Everett, Somerville, and Malden. I know in the top 100 most densely populated cities in the United States of America. So the dense populations in a small area. So with the Wynn Casino population, and this is average, this is the data that we have, is 20,274 persons per day visiting. Estimated in the first year of 7.4 million people coming there, and we believe about 4,400 will remain overnight on any given night, plus 4,000 permanent jobs, people working in that business operation around the clock. Those are pretty big numbers. The numbers we have with our regular population and then with the Wynn population, and I'll go by, for example, 2019, with our regular population of 46,000, this is projected, 46,665, in an average Wynn visit crowd of 55,065 people on a day. That's any given day. The projected officer needs are gonna go anywhere from 127, if we go with that 2.3 officers, up to 149, 2.7. And I'm not saying we have to go with either one of those. That's something that we have to feel comfortable with. I think everyone has to feel comfortable with what you want for service. I'm gonna make recommendations, but that's the range that we're looking at to maintain the staffing to do the surfaces.
Chief, what was that again, 127 or 137?
It's a number from 127 to 149, whether you go that 2.3 officers per 1,000 or 2.7. So 127 officers to 149, and that's based on those populations. So 46,000, that's the regular Daily population of the city, 46 and change, and projected with Wynn visitors, 55,000 in any given day. So we're talking upwards to potentially increase in 30 officers. And where would they go? They would be spread out throughout the department. The brunt of them would go to patrol operations. Those are uniform officers who work the streets. Officer like Jeff McCabe was assigned to the evening platoon. Those are officers on the streets. And then we would address officers to the different needs that we know are gonna be there. We would have a couple go to regular criminal investigations, a couple go to special investigations. We would have 3 go to youth services, which is an issue we need to, we know we need to beef up. We'd have about 3 officers go to traffic enforcement. We talked about the 3 officers going to the gaming unit. And by the way, those officers going to the gaming unit, under the state statute, that would be reimbursable by the state through gaming funds. They're paid for by the state, the funds that come into the gaming operator. An additional officer to do business liaison work, and the dozen that I mentioned in patrol operations, and then in the ballpark of 4 or 5 supervisors that would get spread out along these numbers. Just some of the the pros and cons versus, putting people to the academy versus lateral transfer. And I just want to touch on this briefly. Lateral transfer is, obviously, it's immediate impact. You recruit people. All you do is you put them through your screening process. They're already trained through the MPTC. They're certified officers. They go right in your streets. The ability to recruit diverse people with special skills and so on. It's a lower cost to hire them. Obviously, if you hire off the civil service list, it's a longer lead time. You have to screen them, academy, field train them, get them to learn the job. We have to follow, obviously, civil service hiring rules. The applicant pools are a lot smaller. And you do have to pay the salary of the recruit officer when he's in the academy. And we have a timeline on how we would do this. We would not want to hire more than 10 officers per year, because I just think it's too much of a challenge to handle that amount. So if the plan was okayed over the next few years to go up into that range of 120 officers based on Wynn's project, we would recommend hiring about 10 officers a year, and that's to replace those that are leaving and to meet the needs of future growth. And the recommendation would be a combination of lateral transfers and academy, because we don't pick the academy dates. The state opens up certain dates for certain academies around the state. Unfortunately, timing's everything. We've been stuck with, we've had people have to go all the way out to the State Police Academy, which is over an hour from here. Actually, it's more than an hour. Fortunately, they allow people to sleep there, but we've had to send people to Plymouth, to Boylston. We're really at the whim of what the state offers at the time. And continue on that pace of 10 officers per year over the next few years, going into 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to now extend a courtesy to Officer McCabe from the Patrolmen's Union to give some sort of an opening statement, like the chief had the opportunity to.
Officer McKay.
Good evening, thank you. We have met members of the executive board with the Patrolmen's Union several times with the chief. We try to meet monthly, and he has kept us up to date with his plans. We have been going back and forth with issues. He said we fully agree with his analysis here and the numbers. We've been kind of a thorn in his side and pushing the urgency, and I know through the channels that he has to work with, it can be a little difficult, but the communication's been great between us. We hope to continue that. We appreciate the opportunity to have some input in regards to this. There are some concerns. Like I said, we've made them known to the chief. He's aware of them, and we are working together. So we're hoping that the city takes heed to his recommendations, and we can all work together.
Officer McKay, through the chair, what's your concerns?
Just in general, right now, it is, we are running, staffing-wise, we are down a little, and, the chief, I know, has been working to hire as quick as possible, but as he explained, the process is long, it's tedious, and it can be drawn out. That's pretty much our main concern right now, is to get the bodies as they become available and as the funding becomes available.
Anything else, Mike?
Chief, I do have a host of questions.
Sure.
If you don't have an answer tonight, it's okay. You can come back with an answer on a future date. You gave us some great information, great numbers, outlook for the future. But right now, we have 71 patrolmen in the city of Everett. You said our number should be at 100, correct?
Well, but right now, we're budgeted for, our current budget is 100 officers. We just, in the last few months, we started losing some people.
Okay. So if we're budgeted for 100, that sort of means that that's where we should be as a department, right?
Correct.
So we have a big deficit, I would say, in numbers at this point, never mind future going forward with the Wynn Resorts. And you said we can only get in about 10 members a year. And I know the academy is about a year and a half to be able to interview somebody, get somebody into the academy, and get somebody out onto the streets, right?
Approximately 12-month window is a good window to process them, get them in an academy, finish academy, and field train them, and get them to be productive
Sure.
in that
So,
ballpark. Yep.
if we stop progress right now, we're 29 police officers, patrolmen, excuse me, below our recommendation for the department at 100. So we're at 2.5 years.
No, I'm sorry, we're budgeted for 100 right now.
Right.
We're down 3, we're gonna be down more. I know we're gonna be losing more. That's just current budget. I can't, if tomorrow I was given the green light to hire people, I could only hire the people that I'm budgeted for in our current budget, unless an appropriation came to hire more people.
So how many patrolmen are we budgeted for currently this
We're
year?
budgeted for 100 cops right now. That's everybody, the whole department.
Correct.
We're down 3 spots right now, and we're anticipated to be down a few more in the next, before the year's over.
Okay, and, you know, again, I'm not the smartest guy in the city of Everett, so I apologize for some of my questions that
No,
may,
it's okay. I
that
just
may
just trying to
seem,
clarify.
that,
Yep.
you know, and I appreciate that, and that's why we're here tonight, to have this open discussion. Chief, if we have 6 patrol shifts on regularly, correct? 6?
No,
patrol shifts.
there's 6 platoons.
Yep.
There's
platoon.
3 shifts per day. Like
Okay.
24-hour operation, 3 shifts per day. There's 6 platoons, 2 days, 2 eves, 2 overnights.
How many officers, or how many?
They
men-
rotate,
It rotates.
because people
among
run
force.
days on, days off. I mean,
Okay, so we're at, how many patrolmen? That's where I'm trying to get at, because as Officer McCabe just said, their numbers are low for men on the streets.
I think we're at roughly a 70 patrolmen, and then the rest, there's roughly 10 officers between criminal investigation, special investigations, youth services. Those are additional officers, and then the rest are supervisory staff. It's basically a 3-to-1 ratio. There's about 75, no, it's more than 75, there's about 25 supervisors right now.
25
And the
supervisors.
rest are line level people in various functions, and most of them being uniform patrol officers.
And how many are we required to have on a roster per shift?
Well, there's no, we have so many officers per platoon. We'd like to have, we usually have, our day shift and our eve shift are heavier platoons, and our overnight shift is a lighter platoon. Those numbers are starting to, overall platoon numbers are starting to drop because people are leaving. And so we have to, we just recently balanced out our shift. So, for example, if I had 10 on an evening shift, I might have 8 on an evening platoon now, on one evening platoon. And I move, I might have moved, maybe I had 9, I moved someone over to the other one to even it out. So those platoon numbers are going down, no doubt, yeah.
Platoon numbers are going down. How many officers are you asking the current administration, the mayor, for each year at budget season?
So the new budget coming up, I mean, I'm looking right now to obviously get the green light and pursue replacing what's left. In my new budget, in the requisition, I'm asking to hire 6 officers above, because by the time I get to that, I know I'm gonna probably lose a couple more. It's a game of catch-up, and I'm trying, I don't wanna play too much catch-up, because if you get too far behind, you'll never catch up. So
I agree.
we're looking for 6 additional.
So 6 additional. I agree that playing catch-up at a time in the city's history that we're at right now is not a smart decision. I know that the mall, as you said, has numerous amounts of calls for service each day. I happen to speak to your brother quite often, who's down there. And it's not always, I don't want people to think that the city is going array and that we have all this craziness going on. They're just all sorts of service calls that are being dispatched down to the mall, right? But I honestly feel like the numbers aren't meeting not requirements, but population-wise. I think that the officers, we need to get more guys on the streets. How do we do that in a quick manner? I don't know that there is a quick manner to do that.
Well, there's a way to, I mean, there's a balance. Like I said, you can strike a balance between laterals and new recruits. New recruits, obviously, as I mentioned, it's a longer process. It's worth it. I mean, if it's worth it to go through the process and hire people. The problem is, we're gonna be coming into the summer months in a few months. If I had 2 or 3 more people, leave, and, he'll tell you it's no secret, there's gonna be forced overtime every night. In the summertime, you have people start going on vacation. I can't deny them from taking vacation time.
of course.
So,
So you might like to sometimes.
no, I mean, so people are gonna go on vacation, your platoon numbers are shrinking, and, some are, I mean, it depends, I mean, calls stay steady. Our busiest month is usually around June, July and August, sometimes, you have good summers, you have bad summers, but, there'll be forced overtime every night. That's the realities of policing in the summertime,
Which
if you
is,
don't have higher numbers.
which is really okay, because from what I see, your return well over $100,000 annually back to the budget in your budget, right? FY14, you returned $145,684. In 2015, you returned $172,148. So we're well over $100,000 that you're returning to the general fund at the end of a budget season.
Yeah, that's
according to
usually-
numbers I received today.
That's usually through salaried positions, so if someone leaves, like with 3-4 months left in the fiscal year, someone gets terminated, someone that, people get suspended, those monies are usually salary numbers. I can't just use that for anything, I can only use it for hiring.
You can't make it in-house lateral department decision to take some of that money and spend it in overtime, or buy new equipment, buy something that
I can only do it based on, if I'm approved to do it.
so you come
isn't
to
always
us
the case.
and say, I need to put computers in cruisers, and we're gonna
Which
vote.
we've done that in some years. We've done that in some years as well.
Okay, I mean, we go, right, I'm gonna let some of my colleagues speak, because I don't wanna take all this floor, but
Sure.
I do have a host of other questions, I'll come back to me.
Yep.
Chairman, I'll
Councilman
yield the
Del
floor.
Solo.
Evening, Chief. You said we have a budget for 100 officers. That's including the supervisors and
Everybody,
everybody.
yes, sir.
When we go to 100, like we're saying, when the casino's up, and we're only gonna hire 10 per year, hopefully this thing is built in 2.5 years. The extra, let's say 30 officers, over 100, is that gonna come out of the money that the casino was giving the city, or is that money put aside from Steve Wynn to support public safety?
So, I mean, what I know is there's mitigation money, that is given to the city once he opens. I don't, that's not up to me where the money's used, but I think that's up to the city government, how to figure that out. The only thing I do know is under the state statute, if we have the officers assigned to the gaming enforcement unit, that is covered by statute through gaming funds. That's the only monies I'm aware of. If there were some other issues, I think, associated with it, I know the state has said, I mean, just, let me back up for a second, too. I probably should have
Yep.
prefaced my earlier remarks. Back over a year ago, I've met with the Wynn security people. We've established a good relationship. I met with the vice president of security for their company, as well as their head of corporate investigations and their physical security people. We've now established a relationship with their local corporate senior investigator that they hired, who's gonna be charged of corporate investigations. And so we're constantly in communication with them. We're working with them. We have been working with them on various smaller issues, and we'll continue to. So we kind of know what their business model's like. They do put a heavy emphasis on security. I was highly impressed with how they do their operations, and I'm confident that they'll run a very tight operation in-house. I mean, between the physical security to make people sure they're safe. I mean, there's a lot of expensive, artworks, and there's obviously money on the gaming floor and going to and from and so on. And they have great surveillance systems, and so there's great controls in place. And they have a great working relationship with Las Vegas Metro PD out in Vegas, and we met with them as well. So we kind of have a good feel for who they are and how they do business.
What are you looking at, so you're talking 127 to 149 police officers the day it opens? That's what you're looking to have, because you're gonna lose
So,
4 or 5.
not necessarily. So based on some of the research that was done on casinos, and it's extremely hard to find a place that's fits the model that's gonna take place here. So it was hard to find an operator like Wynn, and it was hard to match it up with a city like Everett. It really doesn't exist. The best we found is in Detroit, and Detroit's obviously a major metropolitan urban area. It actually has 3 casinos. None of them, I think, are a large resort from what I remember, like he offers, and I don't think any of them were the high level a business operator like him. And although they said, Detroit PD said they had an increase in calls for service and issues, it wasn't necessarily a huge crime wave that came. And we don't anticipate a huge crime wave. We just like the mall, there's a lot of calls for service down there, like someone locks himself out of a car, someone takes a pocketbook, or a pocketbook gets lost, left in a carriage. There's domestic, husband and wife get in a fight, or boyfriend and girlfriend. A car gets broken into, a car gets vandalized. I mean, there's a credit card theft, there's credit card fraud, there's a shoplifting. I mean, those probably don't register big on, of any interest to you guys. I mean, those are the type of calls and incidents that happen.
Right.
We anticipate some of those type of things similar to Wynn's operation, but what we found is it's after the establishment gets open, 3 to 5 years after it's established, you start to see some other regular patterns, and that's when you really need to be at your highest peak of numbers.
Right. So it seems to me that
You have to build up to it.
from now until it's open, we're almost in I'm not gonna say a panic mode, but replace the officers that are leaving, and also additional for the casino itself.
Sure, it's a challenge. Yeah.
Because we come up to the casino, let's say we hired 20 from now until the casino opens, and you wanna get 10 more. It's gonna be a lot of work for you guys to try to keep, I'm not gonna say both sides, the casino happy in the city of Everett, and try to get the other 10 officers, the recruits, in and get them trained at the same time.
Sure, no, it's a challenge, and that's why I was trying to strike the balance of new hires off the list with lateral transfers. I mean, I think if you do that, you can bring in, like I said, some people immediately. At the same time, you get to hire some local people and put them through the process.
Right.
But you need a plan. We have a plan, and we feel comfortable that if we execute it and it gets the support, that we can pull it off. I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't panic. There's no
Right.
panic. I'm not worried. I think we could do it as long as we're on the same page.
Okay, can we get not right now, but can we get a copy in our mailbox of,
This isn't ready to go out. It's still in a draft mode, but yes, at some
Okay.
point shortly, probably the next week or two.
all right, thank you.
You got it.
All set, President.
Councilman Capone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen. Through you to the chief. So I guess when you take a recruit, the time frame is about a year from point of academy to street.
Recruit, when I say that, you start the interview process, background investigation. The background investigation, and we take a lot of time there because you want to make sure you get it right and vet who you're bringing in. And that's, so we can expend a lot of man hours in that, and at the end of a month, come away with, okay, we're not gonna go with that recruit because of some issues we found. So that's a very time-consuming area. That's really the brunt of it starts, and and so once the mayor decides, after we do the backgrounds, he decides who he wants to select, and they make an offer of conditional offer. They have to pass medicals, psychologicals. Then we have to line up the academy. We try to do this in a manner where we know an academy's coming up, and we can get it done and get them ready. They have to take a physical abilities test to get into the academy. If they don't pass that, they can't even go to the academy. So they do that, they get locked into an academy, and then they're tied up for 26 weeks, 7 weeks in that ballpark. And then we field train them for roughly 3 months after that.
Okay. And then with the lateral hires, this would be experienced officers from other communities, locations,
They have to be from a
whatever.
civil service department like us. Someone that obviously the mayor's willing to take, and someone where another appointing authority is willing to let go.
Okay. And with the academy, with the new recruits, we're looking at 5 to 6 with a lateral. If a budget allowed, you could probably do as many as you needed, or is it still quality control with regards to making sure that they fit in
Well, we
with the
would vet
system?
them thoroughly. The background investigation would be the biggest piece. On a lateral, yeah,
Yeah.
we would do a very thorough background investigation.
But as opposed to new recruits, 5 or 6, if you did do a lateral, could you go above 5 or 6 because of the experience?
Oh,
they
yeah,
bring?
yeah, because they're gonna, we put them through a field training, but it's,
Okay.
you know, if you take a guy that's got 4 or 5 years and he's on, Somerville PD.
Yeah, it's not as
you know,
green as someone
Policing
coming
in
out of Ohio.
Somerville is pretty much the same as policing in Everett, just a matter of how we do business, learning how we do business, learning our radio transmissions and our sectors and that kind of stuff.
As far as bottom line, I would imagine a lateral recruit's probably gonna come in at a higher rate than a new recruit, or how does that work?
Not necessarily. So, there was, I believe, if a lateral transfer had, the way our ordinance was done on laterals is if they had the Quinn bill prior to, wherever they're employed, they would be entitled to it. But an officer that is newer, and that's officers in the last,
5 years?
Yeah, 5 years, yeah.
5 years. So the state stopped, for example, the Quinn bill. There's no Quinn bill. If they didn't have a Quinn bill when they got hired, they don't get the Quinn bill when they come here.
Okay,
So it's roughly our entry-level salary, what our current entry-level salary is what they get,
okay, regardless of,
what they were getting paid.
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And then as far as the shifts, and if I touch on any issues that are too sensitive,
I'll let you know.
let me
Sure.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Yep.
with regards to, we have our 3 shifts, we got day, evening, overnight, 6 platoons, is that 2 platoons per shift, is that?
Yeah, so it's 2 days, 2 eves, 2 overnights, they work opposite each other.
And I understand that the day and evening are heavier than an overnight. What's, as opposed to giving numbers, what's the ratio between the two, if that's easier to speak to?
Well, the ratios are heaviest, officers are heaviest on the days and the eves, and keep in mind, we have an overlap between the eve and the overnight shift. We're heaviest till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
And I'd be glad to get into numbers
Yeah.
if you want to go into executive session,
right.
but I'd rather not.
No,
do
and
that.
that's why I preface my remarks first,
Yep.
because I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize anything. And that would also talk about the actual shift hours, is that something you talk about, or would you prefer not to talk about that? I'm okay if you're
Well,
not,
our guys work 10-hour shifts.
Okay.
And there's a small overlap between the day shift and the evening shift of 45 minutes. And then there is a 5-hour overlap between the evening and the overnight shift. What I will tell you is between 9 at night and 2 o'clock in the morning, we have a lot of officers on the streets to handle pretty much anything.
okay, great,
Our bar's closed right now at 1 o'clock. Overall, things usually settle down at 2 o'clock in our community. And overall, historically, our data shows that, 2 to 7 normally is 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. is a quieter time of any 24-hour cycle.
okay. And I know that as population grows, you're going to need more folks on the
Yep.
force. But if we were to kind of freeze where we are now, take a snapshot in time, we've got a budget for 100. And I know that you'd said that with casinos, the experience has been, once it's up and running, then you might actually need more folks. But at the current budgeting of 100, how many would you, don't look at the growth for the other numbers to get to the 127, the 149. How many more offices do you anticipate you would need in order to address the casino if it were up and operating right now with our budget of 100? How many more would we need simply to address that? I know we've got the 3 for the investigation part of it, but how many more do you think would be necessary for the issues that come along with it? The smaller issues, the calls, the car accidents that are gonna be down
So
in
you're
the
saying
area,
if
that
the
kind of stuff.
casino is open tomorrow,
Right,
and I have
and we're
100
currently
right
budgeted
now,
for 100. So if you had a
Minus the
wish list,
gaming.
you said, this is how many we need just to address it.
I'd be in that 25 ballpark minus those gaming enforcement officers.
Okay,
Because here's the big issue. So we're going from, I told you guys that at 2 o'clock in the morning, our issues quiet down.
yeah,
We're gonna be flipping that upside down, and potentially the overnight shift is potentially gonna come a busier shift now.
right,
And right now, we're not staffed properly. Like, if that opened tomorrow with our current staffing, we'd have problems.
absolutely. And like you say, it's 24-hour operation, so.
24-hour operation, a lot of
You're
people.
gonna flip it,
Yep.
because the issues that are gonna happen in the wee hours of the morning are probably intensify with significance, so, The other question I would have for you, and I don't know if you can get into this, so we won't if you can't, but I would imagine our local police are gonna be responsible for responding to issues in the hotel, around the outside perimeter, state are involved
So,
to a certain extent?
Under the gaming statute, it's laid out specifically that an MOU has to be executed between the chief of police of local jurisdiction and the superintendent of the Mass State Police on who's doing what. We have not engaged in serious discussions with them.
Okay,
We have engaged in discussions with other gaming operators and other police departments. We've been in touch with the state on some other issues. So when I say the state gaming people, to talk about some of these issues, but we haven't formally sat down with them yet
okay, all right, great. I don't have any
to
other
hash
questions.
that all out, but that will take place.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Thank you very much.
Through the chair, I have a couple, but I'll get back to you, Councilman. Retirees, how many do you have, Chief, coming?
I'm sorry.
How many
repeat that?
retirees do you have coming up?
Well, people who are eligible to retire.
Yes.
And people who are mandatory to retire, two different things. We have a couple mandatory retirements coming up in the next few years, and then there's a number of people who are eligible. You know, some people give me a heads up that they're gonna retire, and some people
They don't.
don't give me a heads up. I mean,
Okay.
so some of them I can't predict. And when I say eligible, it's usually someone has the age of 55, and they have 32 years of service.
I got it.
Um,
The, how many vetted right now that you're trying to actually come in and bring them in? You
We
said
haven't
that
vetted
you
anybody right
You
now.
haven't vetted
We-
yet? Okay,
We haven't had the approval to hire anybody right now.
okay. Now, you'll come in with the CIP, I'm sure that you'll come in with a higher number this time around?
On hiring,
Yes.
yes, in this year's budget, I'm requesting 106, I believe the number was.
Okay, and we're at 100 right now?
100.
Okay, so you're just gonna put in 6 additionals?
Oh,
Think you should
yeah.
put in more, maybe, to anticipate
I
losing?
could, but again, based on, I don't know if I'll be able to hire between those who are leaving now. And again, it's based on what I'm authorized to do. If I'm given the green light to do a mix of both, it makes our life easier. If
Sure.
we do if we have to hire 10, 12 people off a civil service list, that's a long haul. We're not gonna see those people in the next fiscal year. You won't see them all. So
Okay.
I can put in for them, but you won't see them. It's just a hard task to.
What's your minimum staffing level? What do you guys go down to a minimum on per platoons or whatever? If you got sick call, you got vacations, you got to cover for an assortment of things, but what's the minimum that you would come down to? If
On
that's
a-
too sensitive, then
On
we'll,
a shift?
yes.
I'd rather, if we want to discuss that, I'd
All
rather
right.
go in executive session.
Actually, we're not going,
Okay.
I'll talk to you on it, but if it's too sensitive, just let us know here. I got a few more questions. I mean, how are we going to get to the 127, 149 in 2.5 years?
Well, if you hire at least 10 a year, we'll get there.
Okay, so that'll bring us up to like the maybe 127 mark.
In that ballpark, yeah. I mean, as long as I think we get close to that, we're gonna be okay. And then it's continuing to build and replace as you get to that, in that area.
Okay.
I mean, we don't, again, there's still a lot of unknowns, that are coming outside of his development. I mean, I don't understand the full picture yet of what else is coming. And so it's hard to gauge
Yeah.
really
Right.
the impacts right now.
We've met with certain people from the Wind Group, and they mentioned a couple of things. So when will the talks begin with the state police?
Probably fairly soon. I mean, I would think in the next few months, we're gonna start sitting down and talking to them.
Okay, and they basically, they'll be controlling one section, you'll be controlling pretty much
Well,
the perimeters?
it's basically working towards an agreement on what our officers would handle, what they would handle, how the officers that we assign to work with them, the ground rules on how they would work. They basically would be working under the state police gaming unit personnel, so they have to follow their rules and so on. There's a whole bunch, we've discussed some of these.
Uniform detailed officers, ours?
They're not uniform, they're
I know.
business attire, and they're investigators.
Yeah, yours though. What I'm saying is, would they be hired down there as uniformed?
No,
No?
they're investigators.
What I'm saying is yours though, your people.
My people, but not in uniform.
Okay, there would be
Shirt-
plain
they'd be
clothes?
Shirt and tie. They've investigated
Okay.
people.
And then, what about our officers? Would they be in detail mode down there at some point, or and if they needed extra
Separate?
police present? Yes.
It depends on.
Or is that on the
it-
talks?
It depends on, that's part of conversations. It depends on what kind of needs and issues they have. I would think, based on talking to them, if they had some kind of large event
Yeah.
that they think was gonna be a big draw, and they wanted to hire additional people, we talked about that. I would think they would hire.
Well, they
yeah,
would
our
come from
personnel.
you guys, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm just trying to, make sure that from their standpoint, they're
Yep.
getting all the benefit of it, so. Let me see. I'll talk to you more in depth. We have an array of people here tonight, so I want to try to get this going.
Sure.
Councilman Del Sol.
Chief, just one question. On the lateral police officer, how long does that process take?
I mean, again, the biggest chunk is the background investigation, and after we do that, we do put them through the medical and the psych. But once you completed that and you're happy with what you have, it's a matter of signing off on paperwork. You bring them on board, we put them through an abbreviated field training officer program, and they get an assignment, they go on their way. You can do that in a couple months, probably 60 days if
Okay.
you work aggressively.
Okay, just trying to compare the recruits to the
Well,
lateral.
I'm giving you, that's really the two main ways of hiring and bringing people in. There's really no other way to do it, that's really it. That's an efficient manner, it's cost-effective manner. And if you're hiring big numbers, having the option to do a few of them helps you a little bit.
All right, thank you.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Chief, from everything that we're hearing tonight, do you not feel an immediate need to boost our numbers? Do you not feel an immediate need to go out tomorrow and ask the mayor to get 10 more guys on laterals, or how? There's only two ways of getting guys, right? You just said it, laterals and new
Yep.
recruits. Should we not be, Councilor Del Solo said we should be in panic mode, and you disagree. I agree with Councilor Del Solo. We should be in panic mode right now, because I don't think we have enough. It's okay to laugh, but it's a serious issue, and we hear it from residents all the time on the street. And I believe we need to get more officers tomorrow, not
Through the chair.
in months ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Apologies, Mr.
I
Chair.
don't disagree with you.
Sure.
Through the chair, gentlemen.
I don't, I'm not gonna panic. Guys in that business, we try not to panic, we train not to panic. But, yeah, we have a plan. It's, like I said, it's a matter of discussions, and the mayor allowing us to go forward, with the plan, and hopefully we get support.
And I support the chief's plan, but I also believe that there is an immediate need to hire lateral officers for certain shifts, and we're not gonna get into those shifts tonight, as you said, Mr. Chairman. But I believe this is an immediate need for lateral transfers, and I hope that the mayor is watching this, and I hope that the mayor understands the severity of what we're facing. And I hope-
Councilor, we could direct this to the mayor
Okay.
and make requests of the mayor
Okay.
for that as well, with the chief's input.
Sure, and I
as
think
well.
that that's where this conversation needs to go. I think that we need to talk about manpower. I think we need to beef up manpower.
Before
immediately.
we end this conversation, I have one more. Councilman
I have
Capone?
two more things that I want to
Okay.
touch on, and
All
then,
right.
and then I'll end it because I'm going to ask for a further.
Further,
Chief.
grant further time on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Chief, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the chief. Chief, have you thought about getting a mechanic, full-time mechanic for the police department solely, right? We go down to the city services every day, and you see a line of cars against the fence. There, at times, are 10 cars that are down. There is not enough cars to move our police officers around.
We need to keep it germane to the subject, so,
Well, I think talking about equipment and how we move forward with the development like this coming into our city and the overall picture of where our department is going is germane to the subject. And I think talking about equipment and manpower.
Chief, do you feel
is-
comfortable talking
Yeah,
about it?
well,
Okay.
I don't disagree with him. Cars are a big issue, especially the overlapping shifts. I agree with him. Any help, that's not my call. The maintenance of mechanical, maintenance of our vehicles doesn't come under my department. I would love to see more vehicles. In my new budget for this year, I've put in for more new marked patrol units. We hit a bad rut when we experimented with the Dodge Chargers a number of years ago. None of them turned out to last too well, and I don't know if we just I think a lot of departments have the same experience, unless you're using them for just a highway patrol. They didn't fare well in urban environments and urban driving. So we lost cars faster than we normally would. And right now, the Ford utility SUVs are turning out, unless you disagree, I mean, from what I hear, the feedback has been, they're a good vehicle, they're robust, and they seem to be holding up fairly well, but yeah, I agree with you. Any and all assistance in that area.
And those are the things that we need to discuss, Mr. Chairman. We
Oh,
need to
abs- no,
talk
I
about,
agree.
You know, we need computers in cruisers, right? We desperately need to get
It's-
computers into them.
But council, what it is, it would be on CIP and probably coming up before us anyway, so, you know,
I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk?
it's not germane.
It's not germane. I respectfully disagree, but that's okay. Thank you.
Councilman Capone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, we used the term panic mode, and I just want to just allay any concerns or fears that might be out there. I know you guys are doing your job. Public safety is #1 priority for the city government. It is for you. You guys are doing it every single day, so we're not telling you anything you don't know. What I feel comfortable about is that both Patrolman Union and Chief feel that the numbers that you've presented are numbers that you both agree with, correct? That's what you said in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I don't sense panic from either sense. That's fine, that's good. If there come a time where you think you do need to increase it, I'll speak for myself. I know that my colleagues feel the same way. City government's here to do what we can to help you do your job, which is to keep the people in the city safe. So if there ever comes a time where you think your numbers change, don't hesitate to come back.
Sure. No, I
But
appreciate
with the
that.
current numbers that you're saying, you know, we're happy with that. I just wanted to address that issue. And then, one quick question, it may not matter at all, but either from administrative or from patrolman, is there a preference with regards to recruit versus lateral? Or no, just the quality of the individual?
I mean, again, it depends on, you know, if I were to lose 2, 3, 4 more officers in the next month,
Then that becomes your better option.
I'm gonna be pushing for more laterals
But
in
in,
the short term.
on an even field, if you weren't worrying about getting equipped quicker, is there a preference? Is there a benefit to one versus the other? Or it really comes down to the
Well,
individual?
it's just, I mean, to get, for example, like right now, if you know, I need to hire 5 people, where we are in the time of year, I'd say immediately, let's go with 2, maybe 3 lateral transfers, and then start processing a couple off the list. I mean, just because it's coming up in the end of March, you know, I can put a couple extra cops in the street this summer. If I can get 2 or 3 extra officers on the streets for the summer, I don't think he'd disagree with me, that would be preferable.
3 would be a nice start. We'd like to see 5 or 6.
And from the patrolmen's union, and now I'm sticking my nose way out where it doesn't belong, is there a preference from the patrolmen's union, whether it's an experienced officer that comes on board rather than a new recruit, or again, does it just come down to quality individual?
I would agree with the quality of an individual. I mean, obviously, we would like to see local kids get the opportunity.
Right.
But given the situation, you know, experience is important. And at a time like this, it's also vital to have experienced officers coming in where you don't want a whole platoon of new people, brand new, fresh on the street, coming out there and kind of unleashing them all at once. It's nice to have some experience that you can rely on. They may be new to Everett, but they're not new to the job. They're not new to dealing with people, the community, especially in a diverse community like this we have. So, you know, we fully appreciate what the chief is saying, and we understand and we agree that, you know, it would be nice to get a mixture. With the immediate need right now, I would not use the word I would like to use is urgent. We do see some urgency, and we'd like to see some urgency in this matter.
Funny how those things have
Yeah,
different
we can
definitions.
play our words, but that is our opinion. That's how we feel, and the chief is
Okay.
aware of that. I've been a thorn in his side, as he'll tell you, so.
Well, all the parts work together and make a good product
Absolutely,
in the
yeah.
end. So,
Yes.
thank you very much, gentlemen. I have no other questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just a quick comment. I think this is gonna be like a chain reaction. You're talking from 100 officers to 140, let's say, on a good year. You're talking more cruisers, you may talking bigger police station. So this is gonna go beyond the casino itself of the effect that's gonna have, and this is big. It's not just
There's a lot-
hiring
lot of
30
plans.
police officers
This-
and everybody's happy.
There's been a lot of, behind the scenes, there's been a lot of planning going into looking at, you know, trying to understand the impacts of an operation like that in a community like ours. And like I
Right.
said, it's been extremely difficult because there isn't an operation like WINS in a smaller urban city like Everett in the country. We haven't found one yet. So it's unique. The good thing is, I mean, it's a higher end operation. And I think we, you know, if we're given the resources, I'm completely confident we'll police the city, and anything comes with it, any development, just fine.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's
Yeah.
just, hopefully Steve Wynn's gonna help us. I know we're getting so much a year, but this may have to go beyond that to get the ball rolling for everybody. Thank you.
Councilman McLaughlin.
And Steve, and the Wind Group has put mitigation, $5 million line item per year, starting on the third year, the first year of operation, towards public safety only, and they can only be used for public safety. So then the money is going to come in. I believe it will double the manpower. It's just, how do we get there? How are we able to physically do what we need to do? I'm not going to continue to ask my questions because I don't want to be germane to the subject. I'm going to submit questions to Chief Mazie in writing this coming week to ask for.
Well, you could
for
grant
grants.
further time, we could
And I'm
come
going to
back.
ask for grant further time,
Yep.
to ask Chief Mazie to come back in 30 days at the first meeting in, I don't know if you want to do it April or May, Mr. Chairman, that's up to you, but I'll submit questions, Chief, and we can also have a discussion. I know that you're very open, and Officer Gilmore from your office has always been phenomenal. He's taken all of our calls and always worked with us on any issue that we had in the city, big or small. So we can work on these issues. Tonight wasn't an attack on anybody. It's just, how do we get there as a city? And I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you, Chief.
So your motion, do you want any of this information to go down to the mayor's office to see if we can
No,
actually?
I would actually make a motion that we lay this item over until
He's ready.
April or May, whatever.
April meeting?
April
First
meeting.
meeting in April?
And I'd also like to ask that Mayor DiMaria appear at the Public Safety Committee meeting, along with Chief Mazie, so that we can extend this conversation. And,
You want the union too as well?
yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm always pleased to have Officer McCabe with us. So ask the union, Patrolmen's Union, Chief Mazie, and Mayor DiMaria himself to appear at the next Public Safety Committee meeting to further this extension of conversation. Thank
Is
you,
there a
Chief.
second on that?
Second on that.
Motion made and seconded to grant further time and have the chief mayor and the union appear at the next meeting of government operations in April. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. You have done so. Thank you for appearing tonight. Chief, we have a couple more for
Yeah,
you.
you want to stay up?
Yeah, just stay, yeah, we'll take them out of order. And
On that,
Thank
on
you,
that,
Jeff.
Mr.
Thank you,
on that,
gentlemen.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'd suspend the rules and take item number 4.
motion made to suspend the rules and take item number 4. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. You want, Steve? Yeah. You want to have Steve? up,
Item
or
number
does he have his
4.
interpreters?
This is a resolution offered by Council Simonelli. The chief of police be respectfully requested to attend the next meeting to discuss some creative ways to help stop gun violence.
Councilman Capone.
Oh, yeah, we have the sponsor in the audience. I don't know if he wants to write any notes on this at all, or, okay. Could we have the sponsor come before us as well?
Yes. Why don't we have him sit next to you? Maybe you
Sure,
can
yeah.
help him with that.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Council, come down this way, and you can sit down here with Councilman Capone.
Good seeing you, Counselor.
Okay, so, what are you looking at this You want just to address that, or? Okay. Chief, if you could, just, if you could address some ideas you might have on the matter, what your thoughts might be on the matter with regards
On
to.
reducing gun violence?
Yeah, creative ways, things that we can do. Are there any programs in place? Are there, what kind of
so-
things are going on at the police department?
I mean,
I guess?
on a positive note, I mean, locally, fortunately, we don't have a great deal of firearms violence. Across the country, there's a large amount of firearms violence, usually more down south than up here in the Northeast. Our gun licensing laws are much stricter in Massachusetts than most places. The screening for people who have convictions, actually Massachusetts, if you have a conviction for certain misdemeanor crimes, you can't get a license to carry a firearm. Obviously, if you're a felony, have felony convictions, you're definitely not getting a firearm license. But as you probably all know, that career criminals don't apply for licenses to carry firearms. They buy guns on the black market on the street. They break into sporting goods stores, people's homes that are gun owners, and so on. We constantly work, not only ourselves, to target individuals who are career criminals that we know are committing crimes, people that commit drug distribution crimes on many occasions, carry firearms. And so we work with our partners in our neighboring jurisdictions. We work with the Mass State Police. We work with our colleagues over at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And at any given time, we're targeting people in these investigations who are so-called bad guys using firearms to commit crimes. And fortunately, we've been able to take a fair amount of people off the streets who are committing crimes with firearms, and they've gone down pretty smooth without anybody getting hurt. As far as, the one thing I can recommend for people who own firearms illegally, people should obviously secure their weapons, keep them, just be responsible for them. Keep them locked up unless you're carrying them and transporting them to where you're going or on your body, if you have the ability or the license to do that. And we just encourage people to not let them get in the hands of young people. And if you are going to, for example, do training with young people, to be responsible and do it in the proper environment, get the proper training, and so on.
Chief, as far as possibility of banning assault rifles or semi-automatic handguns in the city, I guess Lexington is trying to do something like that. Are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not.
Is that something we can do at the city level with regards to certain weapon types, or do we start to cross over in the constitutional law?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the answer on that, to be honest with you. I'm not familiar with what Lexington's doing. I mean, I'm personally not opposed to people who are hunters. I mean, I have some issues with people having assault rifles, what they're doing with them in the
Right.
city environment, but
Yeah, seems a little over the top.
yeah.
Do we have any kind of a give back program where people can just drop off weapons at the station, no questions asked? Or,
We get turned in weapons pretty regularly. Usually it's discovered by, we have a lot of veterans, that have served in the military in our city. And so many times people pass away, spouses, children, grandchildren, they turn in weapons of people. We don't get, I mean, some of these gun buyback programs you see in larger urban areas, the feedback that I've received is, they get a lot of crap guns, not the kind of guns that are used in crimes. But I guess anytime you can get a weapon off the street, it's a good thing.
do we have an open policy in the city where someone could bring a gun, just
You
say,
can
look,
turn-
I
oh,
want to
yeah.
return this?
Yep. You
No
can turn weapons.
questions asked, they
We
get
have
to
that
leave,
happen.
they
Yeah, I mean-
turn out and leave?
Well, I wouldn't say no questions asked. The gun, so if someone turns in a weapon, we have to run the weapon, make
Okay.
sure it's not stolen, see where it's from. The good thing is recently, for example, for weapons that are being used in crimes, we're one of a number of cities that have prioritized to get our ballistics testing at the lab done in a more expedited manner. So that's a good thing. The other thing we mentioned before is, as you guys know, we have the shot spotter technology in our city. So if we do have firearms violence, or gunshots going off, the majority of our city, or at least our populated areas, are covered, and we're able to respond within a minute to gunfire going off. So that puts cops on the scene immediately. We have made a number of arrests since we've had that technology, where the activation goes off, where comes up on our screen at dispatch sends units to the scene, and units have actually caught people trying to flee from the scene with the firearm. So that's great stuff.
And I think Council Simonelli would like to just leave this issue in your hands, and from time to time, you know, if there's any updates you think that you should give to the council in terms of what's going on with guns, or any gun programs or return policies or anything of that nature, because it is a serious issue. And it looks like one of the major concerns is that, especially with a give back program, you just want to get those guns off the street so that a minor doesn't come into contact with them and have any kind of a catastrophe, I think is
Sure.
what he's looking at.
I mean, the one thing, the phenomenon that is going on, and you might be aware, is there's more people looking to get guns right
Yeah.
now than give them up. And a lot of that stems from some of the policymakers at a higher level, the federal level.
Yeah.
Once they start talking restrictions on guns and restrictions on ammunition, one thing people don't want infringed on is their right to bear arms. And
Right.
every time there's talk of that, it seems like everyone's applications for a license to carry a gun goes up. You know, the one thing you should know is for those who apply, you have to go to a safety course now. Everyone has to go to a safety course to get their license. And then once people have it, you should feel comfortable knowing that if we have incidents where people are arrested, for example, domestic violence incidents, their license is taken, their weapons are seized. If they're involved in any criminal activity, their license is suspended. They go to a hearing, and some of them are taken away for good. So, you know, we take it serious. I mean, we obviously, we comply with the laws. We give them the licenses to people who should have them. But if they don't comply with the law, they run the risk of losing them.
Okay. And we got your position on the assault rifles at the local level, that kind of stuff. But how liberally are the permits granted? And is there any, aside from if they're picked up for illegal activity or domestic violence or anything like that, is there any routine recertification or reapplication, or no?
Well, so a case has to be adjudicated in court to decide whether someone gets their license back or not. So if someone's found not guilty, they're potentially gonna get their license back. I've had a case where a victim recanted, which happens a lot in domestic situations. A female recanted a story on a pretty serious case, and I denied the license to go back to the individual. The individual appeared to a district court judge under the law, and the judge ordered me to give the license back. At that point, I have to give the license back, but at least in those cases, I try to do my due diligence. If I have a bad feeling or the facts supported an arrest, even though the case didn't go anywhere, I try to stick with the facts and do the right thing.
Open it up to other
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you, Chief. We have another question.
Councilman McLaughlin?
Chief, on this issue, if I get a gun license in the city of Everett, you would sign off, give me permission to have one, which you never would, but no, it's only a joke. I get in trouble, plead no contest in court, and I'm fine. Can I go to another city, apply for a license? What happens to my gun license that you've revoked? Why a trial or some sort went on?
So if you had a license, you're giving me a hypothetical, it sounds like, and I don't particularly like hypotheticals, but I'll try to tailor-make a hypothetical to make you guys understand what happened. So if you had a license to carry through our city, and you got arrested for drunk driving, you subsequently are convicted of drunk driving, you would lose your license to carry a firearm. You would not be able to apply for and get a license in any city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, pretty much forever. That's it. Conviction for drunk driving, a lot of people don't realize that, a drunk driving conviction, you won't be able to get a license. Certain misdemeanors, and I don't know, there was no rhyme or reason, it's a hodgepodge of different crimes. But once you have it, because what happens is the process, whether you apply in Everett, Cambridge, Boston, it's the same process. We go on the MERCS system, it's a state system, most of the big cities have it. My licensing officer, Detective Al Peluso, who does a phenomenal job with the licenses, he's very efficient, he knows the rules and the laws, but he sits at a terminal and inputs all your data, it goes into the system, there's mental health checks and criminal checks that are done, fingerprinted, and this process takes place. At some point, he gets return information. You know, your record check's good, your mental health check's good, your prints are good, you're not wanted. And he basically gets your license, he goes back in, approves it, and the cards get mailed back to the PD, and then they send them out to you. But if you're revoked for a criminal act that's, and it's one of those offenses, you can't get a license again. You don't.
So if I'm arrested for DUI and I don't
Convicted.
okay, so convicted. So if I'm arrested for DUI, you're not pulling my license immediately. You're waiting until a conviction or non-conviction is coming down.
It depends. For example, if you're arrested with it, you're displaying it, drunk with a weapon on you, it's coming. Getting a fight with it on you, yeah. Even that, simple assault, so you get involved in an argument, road rage, take it out, your license, your gun's going, your license is going. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you, Chief.
yep.
Councilman Delasola.
On that same topic, if you get caught DUI and you're convicted, you have a license to carry,
It's gone.
it's gone, but do they come take the weapon?
Yes,
You do.
you have to turn it in, yeah, you have to turn, yeah.
But you'll see that on the record that he's licensed to carry,
Yeah, we have.
and you'll
to-
go
yeah,
and get it?
Yep, we'd have to,
Okay.
yep, we'd have to get, well, we allow, so we'd hold them, they're allowed, for example, like say we see some of your weapons in some criminal matter, and you got a license, and now your license is revoked, you're no longer gonna have it. We'd allow you to transfer those over to a lawful gun owner,
Okay,
but you can't have them anymore.
okay. Thank you.
Councilman Capone, what's the pleasure on this?
The sponsor would like to refer this to the chief, just the different topics we talked about.
Sure.
Just keep an ongoing dialogue on it from
Yeah.
time to time as you feel necessary.
Yeah,
to update
appreciate
us,
your
so.
interest. I mean, it's a serious issue in our country, and we try to do our best to keep gun violence low here.
Motion made and seconded to refer this to the chief. All those in favor? All those opposed? You have done so. Please, chief, stay there.
Chairman,
We have,
Could we waive the rules
Waive the
and
rules.
suspend the rules and take item number 7?
suspend the rules. All those in favor?
All right,
Take item number 7.
Item number 7. This is a resolution up by Councilor McKinnon to invite the police chief or his representative to attend this meeting to discuss scams going on at gas stations.
Councilman Capone, could you take the chair?
Oh, you got it. Take care. Yep. Yeah, I'm good now.
if we could have the representative
Don't
from
worry about
Weights and Measurement before us as well? Is there someone in the audience?
Yes.
If you could just please identify yourself for the record?
Ed Aliberti, Sailor Weights and Measures. All right, Ed Aliberti, Sailor Weights and Measures, City of
Council
Everett.
McKinnon.
Thank you. Mr. Alberti, do you have any information on this, anything going on in surrounding communities? I know that why I put this on was there was an incident that was happening at Winthrop where individual would go in and they'd try to use the gas pump, but the gas pump was, it was like tainted to where it would drain their account and stuff like that, so. Do you have
Well,
any information on that?
I have some information, yeah.
Okay.
Those are skimmers that, they affix to an ATM or a gas pump. It looks exactly like the swipe. And what it does is it reads your data and it takes your PIN, and that's how they get your information. They do it all by Bluetooth. It's all
Really?
wireless, yep.
Now-
We've had no reports of that in Everett, but a lot of it has happened down the South Shore, Hingham, Quincy, Weymouth, but it seems like it's working its way this way. There was a couple incidents in Cambridge and one in Winthrop
Winthrop,
that
yeah.
we spoke about.
Now, when you go to do the weights and measures testing or whatever that is, do you physically look inside these machines now?
When I do the meters, yes.
Okay.
But these are fixed on the outside.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything inside?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because the ones that I was seeing, they were actually, they had a key, they opened it up, and
Yeah,
they went inside.
They
and
can do that, yeah.
Okay.
And they can also put a miniature camera there.
Yeah.
They can read you, type it in your PIN. There's a
So-
lot of ways.
So now, as part of your daily duties, right, you would go out, you would do the calculation on the weight? And
Yes.
then you would also do, would you be looking for this type of devices now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know I spoke to you, Chief, about this as well. And there's been no incidences here yet, but it seems like it may be coming, so.
Well, that's good, yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it's not really a new phenomenon, it's been going on for a while. A lot of times, these skimmers are basically put right over the mouth of an ATM machine. And like you said, Eddie's, said you basically putting your card in there, it's not working for you, but they're basically stealing your data and using it to drain some money out of your accounts. But they'd like to put them in isolated areas, and they put them on for a period of time, and then get it off. If you know what I mean, they don't want it to be stay on too long because it'll get discovered.
Sure, sure. So now, the ones that I'm talking about too is inside, where you would open up the machine itself.
Right.
Mr. Liberty, and then you would probably see that there's something like spliced or something to that effect.
Right, you would see that. They do that mostly on the ATM machines.
Okay.
They put something in the back, attach it to the jack, it reads all your information.
And then it kicks it out to them, so
Yes.
they have it, so
Well,
they can
and
actually
They could just
access
be
your
sitting
account.
right across the street and everything is wireless, they get everything. The gentleman in Winthrop, he didn't know he was missing $800 until 2 weeks later.
Absolutely.
So, and now they have a new one, it's not just a skimmer, it's called a shimmer, which is, it's a shimmer, it's about as thin as a piece of paper. It slides right in, can't even detect it. The ones that are out there now, they're held on with sticky tape, so just put it right on there. And it's easy for them to do. I watched a video the other day from the state, they could do it in less than 3 seconds, put it right on there.
Okay.
And be able
I
to
just,
do it.
I just wanted to do this more for informational
Yeah.
purposes, just to get it out there so people are aware of it. They may want to walk in and purchase the gas at the teller instead of doing it at the machine. There's been no reported cases as of yet, according to the chief, right?
None that I'm aware of. I mean, I haven't seen anything in our bulletins. The only thing I would remind people is to go to reputable places.
Sure.
Places that they know have a good reputation.
Well,
They
that's the
come from.
problem. They're going to reputable places and these other instances, and it's happening because somehow, some way, they're getting into the box. So, I mean, I just wanted to put it out there for informational purposes. I'm going to refer it to you, Chief, and also to you, Mr. Liberty. And if there's any reports of this, I'd like to see if we can get a written report back on it.
Sure.
That's my motion.
Any other questions? Seeing none, it's been moved and second to refer to the gentleman before us. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You have so referred.
Thank you for appearing
gentlemen.
tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Clerk
Thank
will
you,
revert
gentlemen.
to regular order of business, item number 2.
Item number 2, this is a resolution by Council McLaughlin and Council McKinnon to have a representative of National Grid appear to discuss the work being done on Ferry Street.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we ask for Matt Comedy from National Grid to come up briefly, please?
Motion made and seconded to have him come before us. Could you please state your name and title?
Matthew Carmody from National Grid, the construction supervisor for the project.
Thank you. Councilman McLaughlin.
Mr. Comedy, how are you tonight?
Good, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I appreciate all of your help that you've given us throughout this project, although it's been a daunting project, and it's been, at times, very frustrating for not only the residents, but us as elected officials and you guys as the contractor. Where do we stand with the project today? I know we've talked a couple of months ago, and I wanted to have a follow-up to see where we were as the summer months come upon us.
So we did hold a meeting with the city engineering and DPW built to give an updated schedule where we stand in progress. We are ahead of where we originally tentatively thought we would be. This was originally a 2-year project. We are ahead of that at the moment. Like we had stated before, it allowed us to work in the winter, allowed us multiple resources to expedite the project. Each phase, 2 of the 3 phases are ahead. The one is currently on track. So I'm certainly can't state that it's going to be a certain duration at this moment, but at least the 2 portions of main installation, one between the Broadway section and the Pleasant View Ave, is going to be the slowest because of the 16-inch steel. But the 2 other phases between the Malden line to Broadway is more than about 45% complete for main installation, along with the other portion from Pleasant View to Chelsea Street is about 50% installation complete. That is also including all side streets, so just on Ferry Street alone, the side streets will be done in a day.
What is the timeline to be able to complete this project in your best guesstimate?
That's tough to say because there's multiple phases. That'd be something that I can come back to you with if you'd like a more detailed progress. Because it's certainly the main installation is the first part, then we can get the gas in, perform all the surge transfers into main connections. So depending on how we're permitted to work, it depends on where we can be. We're still, I'd say, a year and a half out for the whole project being completed. But that's not just the night work. The toughest portion, obviously, is getting the main in the ground. That's where we are at night. That's when the larger machinery, and that's where we take up the most room. Certainly when we do this, start doing the service transfers and the side street connections, which will be done during the day, will be less inconvenience to all residents.
And I am happy to hear that we're going to start to transfer into the daytime work period. What are you looking at for nighttime work, which is where my concerns are, because residents are still being inconvenienced, and I'm still receiving texts and phone calls and emails from residents at nighttime that they're being interrupted by this work. How much longer night work are we going to, please don't tell me a year and a half.
Not a year and a half, but I could simply say it's going to be, let's say, a year to be safe. I'm not going to say, it could be less than that, but if I give you the best case scenario and then it's the worst, certainly leaves us.
I completely understand that. Mr. Comedy, I have to be very truthful. We need to come up with a better solution than a year's worth of nighttime work, because the residents cannot suffer for another year, to be very frank. Where do we go, Mr. Chairman? I don't know, this is also your piece. This is germane to your neighborhood more so in Ward 4. I don't know how we rectify the situation, but we owe it to the residents of the Ferry Street neighborhood of our city to come up with a solution that isn't going to consist of another year's worth of heavy machinery outside of their homes overnight. I know that I wouldn't want it in front of my home. I know that none of my colleagues would want it in front of their home. Very quick story. We were doing snow removal last winter, right? And Councilor Capone at the time, I could not believe how noisy it was inside of a home. Councilor Capone, in front of his home on Broadway, allowed me to come in. We heard the noise with the machines, the backing up, the beep, and it's extremely loud. It's waking families up and keeping them awake all night long. It's unacceptable at this point. I never thought he was going to say another year. I was hoping he was going to say the course of the summer and we were going to be done with night work. I don't know how we move forward, Mr. Carmody, but we need to come up with a better solution. And meeting with the DPW and the city engineer was great. I wish that Councilor McKinnon or I had been invited, considering that we've been talking about this piece since I think I was elected. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know what we do, Councilor McKinnon.
I have other councilors that one.
I'll
Actually,
yield the floor to my
Thank
colleagues,
you.
absolutely.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that actually is my point. With the evening hours, what are the current hours of operation on the project?
We begin work at 7. The crews have been instructed to all stop heavy machinery, jackhammering, whole ram at 11. 11 p.m. is when they stop, and then we still have much work to be done. Usually work with the Bobcat, the unloading, the paving, but the larger equipment, the noisier equipment, the crews have been instructed to stop at 11 p.m.
Okay, so the heavier stuff stops at 11. When does work stop on the overnight? Or does it go all the way through the night?
It's usually about an 8-hour night for them, so they'll start
Okay,
at
so they
7.
start at 7, so it'll be till 3 in the
3 a.m.
morning. Okay. Yeah, that's an issue that I've received from quite a few constituents as well, as you can imagine. Obviously, the work has to get done. It's one of these balancing acts where you need to get it done. You want to get it done when there isn't as much traffic. You can get further along in the project and move quicker, but at the same time, we really need to be sensitive to the residents. I appreciate the fact that the heavy equipment stops at 11. Might even be able to push that back a little bit, maybe to 10. And then I don't know what the sound level is going into 3 in the morning, but especially as we get to the summer months where people are going to have their windows open, it's going to become much more significant of a noise issue. So I don't know what the answer is either, but I know clearly you've got a job to do. It has to be done. It's not a pleasure cruise out there. This is necessary work. And, the residents are going to be inconvenienced to an extent, but to the extent that even if it prolongs the project a little bit, whatever we can do to make it more bearable on the residents is what I'd be looking to do. So I just wanted to get your feedback on that, so.
Certainly, we've tried different, processes, different ways of performing the work, and we have, it has gotten better. When I've been out on site every evening, I go during durations of the evening to check the noise level. We've changed our strategy a bit in terms of, instead of spending, one night just breaking out an installation, using the ideal times for the breakout of the railroad tracks, cobblestones, 20-inch thick concrete. That's usually where we had the largest, impact in terms of noise level to the community. I do want to state that when I say a year, that's worst case scenario. We haven't been able to work realistically in the last month because of union contract negotiations. So the contractors, simply performed work when permitted, but mostly they have not been allowed to work. So I can't give you ideal, progress, how it's made since the last time we met because we couldn't perform the work in an ideal situation. If you like, once we have a better, another month under our belt, we've only been out there since December. I can give you a better up-to-date schedule of where we stand, where we think we'll be. And during that time, I hope that 2 portions of the night work will be mostly completed and they'll be transitioned over to days. I have met with our contractor and met with our team. We do have plans set that expedite the process, also to minimize the night work, bringing in additional crews to do the crossings with the crew performing other work at that time. That way it will really shrink the time frame that they will be working nights. That being said, the one portion of work which will take the longest during the evening is the large diameter steel going down the Ferry Street between Broadway and Pleasant View Ave.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I just want to impress upon you, and you've heard it from one of my colleagues, the residents are beside themselves. And as we do get to the summer months and those windows are open, it's going to be that much worse. So whatever can be done on your end, and I understand that there's been some modification of the work schedule, especially when we get to the point where windows going to be open, if we could further modify it. And I know that that's going to lengthen your process. It may increase the expense. But whatever we can do to be as considerate to the residents as possible is what we're looking for. So I appreciate anything that you can do with that.
Councilman Delasola.
All right, I'm in the same shoes as you, but like I said earlier, I work for Eversource, same position you have. On the time frame of the night work, are you looking to do the main installation and then go on to days to do the services to the homes? Is that your plan? You're saying you're gonna go so long during nights, then go into the day. What point are you gonna go from night to day? When the main's installed and then do the services in the daytime? Is that your plan?
No, so my current schedule or tentative plan of work will be, I've separated this into different portions, different phases, where we can gas in a section of the main that it won't affect our system's integrity at the same time. It's not like a water main where obviously where you can bypass the main and also perform the service work. We have to get the main installed, a portion of the main, prior to gassing in for us to begin the service work. 2 of the phases, and those would be the plaster diameter. I'm hoping to be a month left in nights. That certainly would then we would transition to days for all service transfers, all of the main connections. There might be nights which would be coordinated with the city to do some of the crossings. So what I will do is bring multiple crews in just to do the laterals across the street and then do the actual rest of the service work during the day. That is our plan at this moment. So I'd say about a month left the main installation on 2 of our larger portions, and just the middle portion would be left working the main installation at night. But we have different plans set to expedite it, to manage this, the residents. We certainly understand and appreciate everyone working with us. We're doing the best we can. Obviously, this is not a win-win all around the board, and they're certainly never going to be able to keep every single person happy. But certainly anything that you guys need us to do, we'll certainly revise and look back into, and I'll be happy to come back in the next meeting to give you an update, see where we stand with everything, and so the residents have a better idea exactly.
Okay, I was just curious when you were gonna, like I said, jump on days. And neighbors will be notified when you're doing the side tie-ins on the laterals? Because
Yes.
you know yourself, I mean, like I said, I'm in this line of work, but, the odor of gas that's gonna come out on the bypasses, and when they're tying the mains over, and are you doing the tie-ins at night also on the laterals?
We're going to get the crossing, the installation across the street. The laterals can be performed during the day at most locations. That'd be something that'd be coordinated with the city.
And the tie-ins itself would be nights also?
The tie-ins itself, if they're off on the side streets, will be performed during the day.
Day, okay. Okay, other than that, I mean, we know the detours are lousy, like I said, I'm in the same line of work as you. The equipment's out there, it's been kept nice and neat and tight, and I thank you for that. So I know I'm on the other side here, so, so you guys doing a great job considering what we have to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman McLaughlin, just as a suggestion, maybe as they're moving down, you're moving down Ferry Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so when they move down Ferry Street, maybe we should, see if we can do maybe some type of meeting with those with those people to explain a little bit better, so that we can actually do something to that effect, or, I'm trying to figure out a way to do it, and that's why I'm bouncing it off you
Think
right
that's
now,
letters
so.
out?
That might be one idea, and if we could have quiet hours, you know what I mean, from this point to this point, that we're not really ripping the ground up or whatever they're doing out there. That might be something else, because I've got a bunch of phone calls actually on it, and it's not even the summer yet. So I can only imagine what's gonna be happening during the summer. So, just as a suggestion, Councilman McLaughlin.
I think your suggestions are great, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Comedy. I will also say you have been more than accommodating to our city. You have been very helpful to trying to rectify issues. So this is not a negative on you. It is really as you said, it's not a win-win for anybody, but we can't have the residents be the ones that aren't winning in this situation, right? Because you guys have to do the work, unfortunately. I don't know how to proceed. Why can't we go to all days? We see all sorts of street utility work being done, whether it's water and sewer, street utility, or, as Rich said, his line of work. It's happening every day in cities across the state of Massachusetts. This seems like the only project that can't be done during the day, and I'm a little confused by why that is, because we are seeing it every end of the state that you go into. There's road work being done, whether it's on main roads, side streets, whatever the case might be. And this seems like the only project that has these stipulations that we cannot go and do daytime work and redirect traffic and reroute people. Maybe it's more of an inconvenience, maybe it's more work to be able to reroute traffic, but it's not going to keep neighbors and residents awake all night, and it's going to interrupt their daily lives. Why is it that we can't do this at daytime?
I mean, a few minutes ago, we were just saying how brutal it is with the detours and how traffic is working at night. We're shutting 3 sections of Ferry Street down to perform the work safely to all residents. That is the only ideal way that we can install this main, because of the location it has to go and the equipment that is required for the safety of the community, the residents, and the workers involved. Working at night is the ideal situation, so we're not backing traffic all the way down to city line. If you look at the traffic patterns, the multiple one-ways, the very narrow streets, there's no way we can detour most of these sections at night, let alone the day, with the traffic volume that is there. We certainly will give it a shot if you guys would like that, but I just don't think it's gonna.
I would like to see it, because I know it's done on water and sewer. When you do street utility, you shut down streets and you redirect traffic. And, Councilor Della Sola said the detours haven't been the best in the past. Maybe we need to get more officers on. Maybe we need to put more signage up. Maybe there's other things we need to do to make it more workable. But I don't think that it can't happen. I don't think that it cannot work effectively enough to keep everybody in the city safe and work during the day, because it happens in lines of work every single day.
Do you mind if I follow up with that? It's just, I know you say that you see multiple projects throughout the area going on through the day. There's not a real comparison, from my understanding. I work all throughout the area of this narrow road, the multiple one-ways, for this work, to compare. Also, if you stated the more police details, I currently have 16 hired almost every evening. I just heard the last meeting we had prior, the numbers. I don't think we'll be able to get that number during the day. Certainly, like I said, we're willing to work with the community. Whatever you guys would like us to, attempt to do, we certainly will. But coming from my professional standpoint and knowing the industry, I just don't think that this phase of work is able to be performed during the day. Like I said, every phase that can be, everything that will be done during the day. All residents will be notified, and the city will be updated bi-weekly on where we stand. They also will provide a highlighted map of the area that we'll be working on every week.
So, and again, I'm not saying that you don't have enough police detail. I'm just saying if Councilor Del Sol is saying that they're not working, that was just a suggestion. I'm not saying that there's not enough details. Mr. Comedy, you just said a few minutes ago you would be willing to try a daytime process, trial and error process for maybe 2 weeks to see if it can work. Can we try that? How do we go about? My main goal here tonight is to figure out how to get you guys on days, to be very frank, because we're getting numerous amount of phone calls every single day from residents, and you said you haven't worked out there in a while, so the phones have been quiet. But every night you guys are out there working, we're getting phone calls from residents from one end of Ferry to the other, that it's a nuisance. So can we try it as a trial and error period for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks? What's your thought on it?
I just don't, certainly if that's what the city wants to, maybe this is the meeting to have, a sit down where we can really fully go through the project. I don't think it's feasible. I think we're gonna lose a lot of time, and we know we won't be productive during the evening, because you're gonna simply have a permit restriction where it can't start till 9. Then you're gonna want me off the road, especially on Ferry, right in front of the school, by school time. That cuts my window down to about 5 hours at best. You can't get any work done with this large diameter pipe, with this digging, ripping the railroad to everything in 5 hours. And then get it all the, equipment off the street, safely put away for all the, pedestrians walking through.
Again, as Council Capone said, if it extends a little bit of time on the other end, maybe that's what we need to do. Our goal as elected officials, right, is to serve the people and to stress their opinions and their thoughts and their feelings. I know what the people of Ward 4's thoughts are and Ward 2 on this project, and they're not anything of what we're talking about tonight, unfortunately. They want this work to be done during the day. So that's where I stand as a city councilor. Mr. Chairman, I'll yield the floor to my colleagues.
Councilman Del Solo.
I know it's a big project gonna go on for the next few years. Do you know, maybe we can get an answer after the meeting, when the water gets replaced? Is the water being replaced after you? I know we had a meeting on this, but I don't recall.
I know there's work planned, but I'm the gas company. That may be a
Right, I
question
understand that,
asked
but
for
I'm
city
wondering,
engineers.
are they going night also?
I don't know their plan for their work. I'm just trying to meet the
This is,
timeline.
I just trying to see if, there's no one here to answer that question for me. Okay, Bill, will come up, please?
Yeah, could we have the city engineer before us, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? You have done so. Please state your name for the record, sir. And apologies go out to everybody that's still sitting out there.
Good evening, Councilors. Bill O'Rourke, Director of Engineering.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, I know there's more work going on, like any job, it's always the gas company in there first, and everybody comes after, they're gonna get the brunt of the storm when you guys leave,
Right.
think it's all over. But when the water comes in, is the water main being replaced on Ferry Street also?
That's correct. I misspoke. I didn't fully understand the project last time we sat down together. But this project is currently under 25% design, and we're submitting 25% design this summer to Mass DOT. We hope to fund this project through the state. There could be some delay. Right now, construction is planned for 2019, 2020, that far out. Water main has been added to the project. We haven't decided whether to go day hours or night hours out that far. We can certainly have a discussion on it.
Well, the work is almost the same thing. For the water main and gas main, the water's deeper. They're gonna break same thickness of hot top. They're gonna work on the same, maybe on the other side of Ferry Street, because the water's always separate from the gas. So you're gonna go on the Walgreens side with the water main, let's say. So I can't see how we can even allow them to even go nights, to go days, if we're forcing the gas company to go at night. So this is gonna be, it's gonna take that long, until 2019 before we,
It has to be funded through the state.
correct.
And I think it's on the tip for that many years out.
Just, our residents down there are gonna be just, wanna move. Once the gas is gone, it's gonna settle down, the dust will settle, and all of a sudden, here comes the water department, putting a water main in, going nights again, same sound, same equipment, same detours. So, nothing we could do right now, the gas company's out there, I love to go days, but it's gonna prolong the noise in the daytime. I think we could have if the neighborhood meeting, or have a meeting with the mayor or something, because what else is being down there? Is the water gonna be down, renewed? Electrical lines? I mean, this is all, this is a long process, so.
As a suggestion from the chair, Councilor, why don't we decide to set up a meeting?
Correct.
A neighborhood meeting here,
Correct.
and have these individuals before us again, so that we could actually explain and hear the concerns of the public at that point.
Okay.
That might be as a suggestion, just so we can get it pretty much going, to hear the concerns of the constituency that's out there. I know that we've been receiving phone calls, a number of us. So if we can just have them explain to them what's the real, you know, the real story, how long it's gonna take, you know, impact hours,
Right.
you know, stuff like that, road traffic, just, you know, the vital information that they need. Maybe we could do that. So why don't we make a suggestion and, you know, possibly grant some further time so that we can
Okay.
get this done?
Yep.
I know you have, is there any other questions?
Thank you.
I just would like to
Hold on one second. Councilman McLaughlin, do you have any other thing to
No,
add to this?
I would just say that it's fine to have a neighborhood meeting, Mr. Chairman, but we're elected to be the voice of the
I
residents.
understand.
And you may not always get the residents to show up to a community meeting, and that's a gamut you're always running with neighborhood meetings. So if we only have 10 people show up to a neighborhood meeting, I don't want these gentlemen to think, oh, there's only 10 residents that are being negatively impacted
Oh,
by
I
this.
understand.
And so having a neighborhood meeting is great if we can get the neighborhood to show up and turn
Mm-hmm.
out. But we're elected to be their voices here in the chambers, and that's sort of where I stand with the neighborhood meeting issue.
I understand completely. So with that being said, I think which way would be the best way for us to go here?
Best way is to grant further time, lay this over, grant further time till the April meeting, ask the mayor, Mr. Comedy, city engineer, to come back to us and to maybe refer this to a committee of the whole, maybe have a completely separate meeting on this.
I know this
so
has
that
been a big issue,
individuals that
Counsel.
are sitting out here tonight, that I apologize to again, aren't here for 2 hours to hear their piece.
Yes.
And we can have an in-depth conversation regarding this issue, because it's not a small matter for our city as a whole.
Absolutely. So we'll refer this to the committee of a whole.
We'll recommend
That would
to
be
the
a
body.
recommendation
So
for that.
I'll make a motion to refer this out to a committee of the whole to be set up as soon as possible. And invite up Mayor DiMaria, City Engineer O'Rourke, Mr. Carmody, or Mr. Cameron, or whomever from National Grid wants to appear. I'm sure yourself, Mr. Carmody. And if any of my colleagues want to add another individual to that list.
It would be city engineer's office, mayor's office, and National Grid. Could I have your last name, sir, again?
It's Carmody,
Carmody.
C-A-R-M-O-D-Y.
I would second that.
Motion made and seconded to have a, refer out to have a committee as a whole at the next possible date, and to invite the city engineer, the mayor, National Grid, Mr. Carmody. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Cameron from
Oh,
National
and
Grid.
Mr. Cameron from National Grid as well. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you for appearing tonight, sir. You may want to just stay there. You're up on the next piece. Fred.
Item number 3, this is a resolution by Council McKinnon. The city explaining why there are properties throughout the city that are being sent tax bills different from the addresses on their mailed copies.
Council McKinnon.
I'd like to invite all the members that are in the audience now to come up before us.
We could have all of the members who are named on this piece, if you could please come on up.
Including 911.
We've got building department, we've got engineering, we've got assessor, we've got E911. Do we need anyone else, or is this everybody?
Sorry. Keeping you so long. If we could have names and titles.
Do we have everyone? I might go, yeah. If everyone could please just identify themselves for the record. Name and title, please.
Bill O'Rourke, Director of Engineering.
Julius Ofre, City Engineer.
Michael Desmond, Inspectional Services.
Pam Davis, Assessor.
Thank you. Thank you for appearing tonight, and I apologize for the long wait, but we have had a long, lengthy discussions on other topics. So I just wanted to ask, has there been any type of plan or movement on this since our last meeting? And if so, could you bring it forward to the committee?
Well, we've been discussing this matter. And the matter has to do with certainly addresses, multiple addresses for a number of parcels throughout the city. Mr. Desmond provided a list today of approximately 240 parcels that have locations, location addresses, and mailing addresses that are different, okay? My understanding is this problem has gone back decades. My first question when I learned of this topic was, is this problem getting any worse? And the answer was no. It's not getting any worse. It's slowly getting better. As people move out of their homes, new tenants, new homeowners come in, they are informed that their mailing address is not actually their location address. And some people don't have a problem with changing their house number to the proper location address at that time. If we continue with this route and having people change their mailing addresses over a period of time, we might be looking at decades more to fully correct this problem. If we wanted to correct this problem all at once by asking 240 people, homeowners, to change their address, that would be awful. Ms. Davis had an example of a commercial address down on Norman Street that has a number of businesses in it. The address of that parcel is 69 Norman Street. Is that correct? 69 Norman. And the owner of that address had a great idea. Let's create individual numbers for each business in here, so each business can have their own mailing address and so on. None of the business owners wanted to adopt that. They all wanted to keep the same number of 69 Norman Street. So people in that example didn't go for changing their address. We expect the same backlash if we tell 240 homeowners that their mailing address is incorrect, that they should change their mailing address to the actual location address assigned to them originally on all of our city assessors plans. It's a difficult issue. It's gone back decades. We had a discussion today that this should have been fixed when 911 system was implemented. Currently, we have calls to 911, and they have location addresses in their system, not mailing addresses, and they potentially go to the wrong address. It's not a positive thing. So, like I say, if we choose to have the 240 all go through an address change to go to the actual location address, which is correct with all city records that we have, and the city records that we do have are in multiple locations.
And multiple mediums.
And multiple mediums. It would not be this panel's suggestion to adopt these mailing addresses that these people have adopted over the decades that's created this problem. So it's a difficult solution. We apologize, we don't have many easy solutions. This problem came about, I believe, it came to everyone's attention recently because Ms. Davis added the location address onto everybody's tax bills. So when they're mailed their tax bill, they see their mailing address, and then they see their location address, and they don't match, and they claimed foul.
Can I explain
Please,
that
please.
part? what prompted that was the building department has gone to a new software package. It was important for them to marry the assessors' records. So in the conversion, there was a realization that our location fields were equaling the mailing address. And so we weren't gonna match, because the building department has always gone by the legal address. So they gave us lists of the accounts that they could identify that had the wrong address. And I made the decision that, not wanting to disrupt everyone's lives and issues, to just change the location field so our systems would marry, but not change the mailing address to be sure that the taxpayers got the mail. Michael gave you, in this handout, you'll see this map, and the highlighted properties are an example. The numbers in the middle of the buildings that are not highlighted are the official city addresses. The colored numbers that say AKA are the numbers these people are using. So for an example, if you look at Cedar Terrace, they're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 all on the same side of the street. As you well know, it's very typical to have odd numbers on one side, even numbers on the other. And if you really look at this map, you'll see a whole, it's just all over. There's no common sense way for anyone to find these homes, given the numbers they're using. So that's the problem. And I did feel as though for the conversion, and so our files could marry, changing the location field and not the mailing address was the least painful route for everyone, which is why we implemented it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, through you, to the 911 director. It was mentioned that if a lot of them come through on cell phone, I understand there's a ping, you get right to the ping. You know what I mean? You could probably get to the house, correct?
They dispatch whatever's on that screen.
Okay.
So if you're a new tenant and you move into the city and you call Verizon and you say, I want a hotline, a fax line, whatever address that hotline is issued to is what's coming up on the screen. They don't touch any of that data.
Okay.
Although 80% come in on cell phone, too much, maybe 65% come in on cell phones, and which goes through the state, and the state will call Everett. What you call, well, I'm in Everett, I'm in Malden. Okay, then if you're in Malden, you could be in Glendale Square, Glendale Park.
Sure.
You use your cell phone, it's going to the state first. The state will send it across the street, and then they always ask what's the issue. But that cell phone subscriber is what comes up, because I could give you my cell phone.
Yeah.
So regarding the hotlines, the data that they're receiving is whoever is the owner of that phone number, that hotline. So if it's a business, if it's Walgreens in Glendale Square, then it's gonna come up, Walgreens, 27 Ferry Street. This is all new to me. I had no idea what this is, but if the engineering.
This is why I wanted you here.
Right, but if somebody moves, like I explained earlier, if somebody moves to the city and they want to change, they have to come to City Hall, they fill out a change form, it goes to the PD, they input the data, and because you might decide that you don't live in the city anymore, you have a 3-family, and you want the city to know A, B, and C about your house. Well, unless the owner of that piece of property fills out the data, it's gonna remain four owners before 20 years unless they update it.
Yeah.
So there is a onus upon the owner to change the data of their property. Regarding phone numbers, that comes from Verizon.
Okay. Now, one of the issues that I would have with it, and I'm sure you'll hear from the other members as well, is if in fact, so I'm at 17, say Cedar Terrace. I call. Is 17 Cedar Terrace is where the ambulance is gonna show up, or the police or the fire? That's the issue that I'm having with it.
Well, also keep in mind, you're talking to a person on the phone, which is gonna take priority. I mean, they're gonna look at the address. Are you at 17 Cedar Terrace? No, I'm at my neighbor's house at 21.
Okay.
Okay, then we're gonna dispatch, well, they're gonna they're gonna dispatch the 21.
So in this case, if he says you're at 17, she's gonna say, no, I'm at 3.
I'm at number 3.
Right.
Correct, and they would go to whatever that,
So they
obviously,
would
that's
go-
the priority, the person who you're speaking to, stay on the phone.
Okay.
If it's a, you know, if that person's, if the phone comes up and says 17 Cedar Terrace, and they're at 200 Ferry Street, it's going to 200 Ferry Street. They're not gonna, that address is not gonna override the person who's at the scene.
Sure. Like, another situation could be, and I don't wanna get into situations, but another situation is, someone calls, they need an ambulance, and they drop the phone and they pass out. How
They're
do
gonna
we
call
know-
the number that they receive in the screen.
Okay, so would we end up?
But
at
it's not the address. They're gonna call the number that, like if it's a 911 call and they hang up, dispatchers, they're very good. They're gonna call that person right back. We just got a 911 call and you hung up. Well, I'm sorry, that was my daughter. Or if there's no answer, they're gonna send fire, they're gonna send police, and they're gonna send ambulance, because they might have to knock the door down.
To what location though?
To the location that's on that
On
screen.
Verizon? Okay.
Whatever's in front of them. You know, it'll say apartment 2, left side,
Yep.
whatever. That data is on that screen. That's all they have to go by.
Could they ever end up at a different address because of this? That's the problem that we're running into.
I have never heard in my little 4 years here of that happening. They've gone to an incorrect address based upon poor pronunciation.
Okay.
And, you know, something like that, Windsor as opposed to Winslow. Very, very rare does that happen. There might be, and it's not on the fault of the dispatcher, it's the fault of the person calling in.
other
There's a
end.
language issue.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, obviously, the dispatcher's not gonna send to an incorrect street if they heard the correct one. That's the only time that they would go to a incorrect address. This has never occurred,
All right.
since, that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, I hate to talk in absolutes, but as far as I know, this has never occurred, because they're always getting the data from the person who they're speaking to.
Okay. All right. I'll open it up for other questions.
Excuse me, like you mentioned Norman Street, that's been a fiasco
Yes.
for years. And now, I just found out, based upon what you said, that's the reason why. The owner decided, you're at number 6, and you're at number 8, and you're at number 10. Doesn't tell anybody. Verizon doesn't know that. So that address, you might have 6 Norman Street, and there could be 7 different buildings in that 6 Norman Street. That's why the girls, or the dispatchers say, can somebody stay out front? What's the call of the door? I mean, there's, you know, again, you're talking to a live person. Most of the time, there's not a language barrier, so we really don't have any issues with that. But now I understand what the issue is with Norman Street. It was the owner of the place.
No, the tenants.
The
owner-
tenants, I'm sorry.
The owner wanted
Tenants
it.
just decided.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield to other questions.
Councilman McLaughlin.
Mr. Chairman, I've heard a lot of things in these council chambers, but I have never heard this one, I gotta be truthful. So, Mr. Mastercola, for example, I call a 911 because I'm having a heart attack.
Calling from your cell phone or
From-
for a hotline?
From my cell phone.
Okay.
Your computer's coming up as 619, 623 Broadway, but it's really 6 Lexington Street.
No.
You're
cell-
kicking the door in at 619 Broadway?
Cell phone is totally different.
Okay, so
Cell
say a
phone
hotline.
The cell phone is, okay, hotline.
Okay, hotline.
Go ahead.
I apologize, right, cell phone is,
Yep, but
a hotline.
Can I say something there? In your example, when these people moved into this house, the post office, the phone companies, everybody thinks it's like that 17 versus 3 on Cedar Terrace, everybody thinks it's 3. Because that's the number they're using. That's the number that's on the building.
I mean, you could pull a good prank on somebody, but I'll be honest, I am absolutely confused, to be truthful. I don't know how to rectify this situation or what to even say, but it's confusing. You have not seen an issue, Mr. Mascola, in your 4 years here at the city that this issue has come up. Because I'm picturing, right, like myself, right? I had an incident this summer where I was at home, I collapsed, right? My parents called 911, hang up the phone real quick to get back to me on the floor. So there's not a live person on the phone. So you call, hang up the phone, go back to the person that needs medical attention. Where are you going?
Your cell phone number came up.
No, on a hotline.
That number came up on the screen right in front of them. They're calling that number. Hi,
Okay.
someone just called, hung up, do you need attention? Now,
Okay.
if you're the only one in the house.
Sure.
You personally, you pick up the phone, you dial 911, and you collapse, they're gonna send to whatever address is there, because there's
So
no one to talk
technically,
to.
you would be kicking in the door at 619, 623 Broadway, and I'm really at 6 Lexington Street.
Is that an accurate assessment of this problem? Because I'm talking to the panel today, trying to get a full understanding. And my understanding is that the streets are not the problem, but the house numbering is the problem. So
That's
this
right.
is not a fair example of Broadway versus Lexington Street. A fair example is staying with this example of Cedar Terrace. If I called from my address at number 1 Cedar Terrace, and yet the locations only range from 9 to 19, I believe I'm number 1. I'm not even in that range of 9 to 19. So an emergency vehicle has no idea where to go on Cedar Terrace.
Right.
Now, likely, someone will be out there waiting for an ambulance to show up, and it'll be down the street, and he'll wave, and okay, the ambulance will see the issue, and it'll be rectified. So it's not as a major problem at different streets, but different house numberings in the same vicinity of the same street.
And I respectfully disagree with Mr. O'Rourke. You say that it's not a fair assessment. A fair assessment is that it's saying 619, 623 Broadway, and it says C number 6 Lexington Street. In a perfect situation, somebody is outside the house waving down an ambulance or a fire truck or whatever the medical need or whatever the service is for. That's in a perfect situation. Normally, when you're calling for 911, it's not a perfect situation. There's somebody in distress. There's somebody of urgency of some sort that's going on. So it is a fair assessment to say that if a house is listed on Broadway and it's really on Lexington Street, that's a pretty severe issue, in my opinion.
In focusing on this one example, I agree completely. In this one example, it says, for Broadway, go see 6 Lexington Street. That's an issue that we should address immediately. And if there are any more of this list of 240 streets that have different
There is, number
Streets.
48 Argyle Street says C number 60 Mansfield Street on the same page. That's on the front page. So there's 3 issues on the front page before I even flip over to the second page. There's 3 serious issues that if
I would agree that we would probably want to address these in a fashion that we take action.
You know, Chatham Road, another one right here.
Mhm.
4 Chatham Road, C number 74, 76 Union Street. I mean, you could have people running around neighborhoods not knowing where to go.
Okay, something like
I think,
that.
If I may,
And I apologize, right? So my colleagues have seen this issue before. I wasn't at the last Public Safety Committee meeting, so I apologize if these issues have been addressed, but I'm absolutely awesome, astounded tonight.
if I may, Chairman.
Sure.
The 3 items that Councilman McLaughlin has mentioned, they are properties that are on corners of streets.
So they have,
They have 2 numbers, and we only can recognize 1 in the system.
If I could, from the chair, that's what I thought as well. Our clerk has actually brought up a really good idea, and I haven't thought about it, because I know the concern of the piece is primarily when emergency units are dispatched, because everything else you can work out, but when it's emergency, that's a concern. If the individuals, because if it's a hard line, if it's cell, we have no problem, it's hard line where we could have an issue. If the individuals that are in this list of names are informed of the confusion, and they don't want to switch over their addresses to match the records of the city, if we had them confirm with their hardline phone carrier that this is the address that they want to use, then that would kick it out from the billing address, wouldn't it? Would that work?
It would work, yes, I guess to answer your question, it would, because the hard line has to be registered to an address.
Right.
Okay,
So,
so that hard line, so if there's no response, if the individual who can dial the number passes out after the first ring, that hard line is registered to that address, they're gonna see on the screen, that's where emergency vehicle's gonna go.
and that might be the easiest solution, is to make sure that we reach out to these folks that have, exactly, that have the confusion between the formal records and what the address has been used on the outside of the house. And if they're aware of this, because I know people get territorial, property interest, hey, it says 3, I'm keeping 3.
Right,
But
right.
when they understand that the ambulance may not get to their house, and we impress upon them the severity of the need to coordinate with their landline so that emergency personnel can get out to them, they might be a little bit more willing to talk about that. And I think that might be a great way to try to address it.
Draft a letter, send it out to them.
And I don't know if I'm missing the mark on anything, but it sounds like that would
This
work.
letter that's drafted now, the onus is gonna be upon the homeowner.
Right.
They have to somehow come to City Hall, fill out one of those change forms, give it to the PD. That data is gonna have to input it from the data, whatever we call them. They're gonna get this sheet of paper that says, my new address is no longer 3-seater, it is now 7. Unless it's put into the system, the emergency dispatch is still gonna see number 3.
Right.
So there's like a 3-step process to that.
Sure.
But the onus is, it's not on Verizon, because they're not gonna change it.
No, absolutely.
It's
And-
on the homeowner.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm getting at is, rather than, if they're absolutely resistant to changing their address to line in with what we've got with the city, as long as we as a city notify them and let them know the significance of their failure to want to properly or accurately identify their property, this is the issue that we're talking about. Emergency personnel may not get to them in time, if at all.
They could be liable for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I believe I still have the floor.
You absolutely do. It was a
No,
great
no
idea,
problem.
and before it escaped my
I,
feeble little brain, I want to make sure I got it out there. Council McLaughlin, you got the floor.
After brain surgery, I have to think quick, I apologize. What happens in the case of a house, right? The city notifies me I have to change my address. I say I'm not interested in changing my address. 90 days from now, I sell the house. The new homeowner isn't going to be retold that the number on the house is not matching the city records, that they're not matching the assessor's office numbers. Houses are changing every single day in the city, as we all know. What happens then?
The only thing I would say to that, and obviously you folks are dealing with this on a daily basis, but the good news is that we've got a closed number, and this number is only going to get smaller over time. If we address this with the folks and let them know, some people may voluntarily switch over. And if they do, great. And I don't know, that might create more problems for the city. But if we can direct them in the proper way we want. If they just want to contact their landline and lock it up, I think that's good. But I think any new development, any new growth, anything of that nature, that won't be a problem. It's just the existing structures, and we have a limited number, and we just work through this as efficiently as possible, I guess. I mean, that would be my guess, but I don't know if any of the invited guests have a different take on that.
That's good.
So,
That's a suggestion thrown out.
yeah.
I'm going to yield the floor to my colleagues because I don't have an
Councilor
answer.
Della Sola.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but we seem to be jumping on the 911 issue, which is definitely 100% a concern. But this whole topic come up last meeting about the tax bills going to the wrong houses, correct?
Well, it was my understanding, it was saying that the location was a different address than their
Correct.
mailing address.
But we're staying on the 911 one issue, which is a big problem, but the big issues seem to be the tax bill going to the homes, correct? On last meeting, we talked about this? We know the addresses are wrong, I'm not saying they're not wrong, but the tax bills were going to the wrong, the people not receiving their tax bill.
No.
That got corrected,
No,
I think.
No, the people were getting their tax bills, because I never changed their mailing address. I left their mailing address to whatever their number they're using. I made the location field what the official number is.
Correct.
And that's what they were upset about.
Correct. Well, I understand the numbers that are wrong here. Is this something we could, is there a law or something we can enforce these people to do what we just suggested on this about having Verizon change the number to what it really is? I know this is kind of, might be a long process here, but.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, we've been talking about changing numbers here, you know. Actually, I did some few research on this matter, you know, and I went back to my records. Way back in 1898, you know, this subject came up, you know, and the city was struggling because they had to change streets, you know, numbering the streets. And some of these properties were actually built by developers. They actually gave those numbers like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And at the time, if you check my numbering plans that I have, you know, in the records, it shows that the numbers that we have are accurate, but the AKs that you have are not really accurate. So the city was struggling in terms of changing it, you know. So what we've been doing with the building department is see how best we can do it, but it's a problem when you have to change your whole street, you know. So what does that do? It affects, you know, your daily life, you know, whatever you have, your deeds and, you know, name it all, you know. So I don't know how, you know, we can do changes, because last time I came down here, you guys asked me how this have been, you know, done. We have it, you know, on our records on how to change these numbers. But in my opinion, I would think that you would have to have dialogues with the neighbors, you know, and see how best we can go. You know, I don't know if there's any law for you to change, unless the city mandate, you know, that they change the numbers. A couple of years ago, I think there was kind of like an ordinance or an order that all residents should have a number in front of their property.
Absolutely.
For the fires.
There is. It's a law.
Actually, that's a state law. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman McKim?
Just as a suggestion, I mean, we've heard some open dialogue here, basically. If we could come up with some type of maybe letter to explain this to the individuals to where they would probably want to come in or want to send, if we sent them a letter and then addressed it as an issue with possible 911, possible mailing, possible, you know, maybe we can get these individuals to actually come on board. So why don't we, you know, try to draft a letter.
If we even enclose the change form that the city issues. with that
Absolutely.
letter.
And where it has to go, which department is gonna be responsible for it, who's gonna be handling it, if there's any questions to it, we have that already answered, you know what I'm saying, before they even start popping up. You know you're gonna get questions, you know you're gonna have to have answers, so, maybe we could do it that way. If it's, you know, astronomical fees and deeds and stuff like that, that's gonna be impacted. We need to know that beforehand before we even, you know, do that. So someone's gonna have to do the research on that. So as a plan of attack, I would say, maybe we can get, instead of 200 and something here, we can get it down to maybe 100. And then from 100, we can get it down to 50. But if you're saying, okay, the AK number, right, AKA number, is not comparable to the regular number that we have on record, and they're gonna show up at another house for a 911 response, that's a problem, I think. You see what I'm saying? So, and that could mean lives. So that's why we're here at Public Safety and Government Ops. So I think that if we do something about it, and just, you know, we'd have to just figure out, you would have to figure out how to do this. So that's why I'm asking you to be tasked with this. So what's the best possible way to do it? That's what I'm looking for.
Councilman McLaughlin.
I think the shortest and simplest way to this is we introduce an ordinance to mandate this is rectified by the homeowners and not put it on these individuals' backs. We say you have 60 days to rectify this situation, or we're going to address it in other ways and not burn these individuals with this issue. We create an ordinance, Mr. Chairman, you're great at writing ordinances.
Yep.
We write an ordinance, we say that.
Thank you.
We say that this
I don't
needs
have
to.
enough to do, Mike.
You're a free man, I know, Fred. And we enforce this, and we don't give it as an option, and we don't allow it to be, hopefully they'll do the right thing. And we need to rectify this issue for public safety matters.
And obviously, before you go any further, we want to get input from the city solicitor about.
No question, absolutely, and any of these individuals that have an idea. I'm not trying to exclude any one of these individuals, but I know that they all have a busy
extremely
day.
competent group of folks here, so.
They all have a very busy day in dealing with other issues.
Yeah.
This is something that we, as a city, a public safety committee, need to take on and rectify, because it could mean a life. If a perfect storm hit, somebody could die because of this issue.
Absolutely. Councilman McKinnon.
I agree with you on that. What I want input from these individuals.
Absolutely.
Because they're all department heads and they know what they're dealing with on a daily basis with this type of issue. So I welcome all and any plans that are coming into action. So we could do something like that, but I want their input on it. So we should probably grant further time for now, and then to see what they come up with as individual department heads to actually collaborate together for an ordinance that comes out, that's pretty great, that comes out of our committee, I would think.
I agree, so
No, I
I
think-
agree with Council McKinnon.
And we need the city solicitor as well.
Absolutely.
To come in on a legal opinion, because it could be a liability issue.
Sure.
If you do not change your, your number, at least with us, you don't have to change it physically for mailing purposes, but at least with us, so we know where to show up on an emergency response or anything like that. It could be a liability issue for the owner.
Yeah.
If someone actually was to, pass away there.
Absolutely.
Because of this issue, so.
Sure.
That, and there's a lot riding on this, I think. I think it's an issue, and there's 200 and something families at risk here, so I think it's worth looking at.
Well, I think so too. And a quick question, if I may. Would it be what would be more advantageous to the city? To have these folks, obviously we don't want them all doing it all at once, having these folks change over to match the city records? Or is it that big of a deal for us to conform to whatever the street number is?
Well, here's the problem. If you look at the little map here, you'd have duplicate numbers. Like, if you look at the corner of Bradford Terrace and Estes Court, they're using number 9 when it should be 16. If we said, okay, you're 9, I think I saw another 9 or, and the one on the diagonally across corner, if they decide to change, now you got 2 9s. You see that?
Yeah, is that Cedar Terrace on the flip side, or is that, yeah, because Estes
Well,
Court.
I think it's still Bradford, because I believe the house is facing Bradford.
Still facing that's still Bradford.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
you still
both
have
would-
Bradford,
both
so you'd
would
have
be,
9 and
yeah.
9.
So that's a little,
If we had a situation like that, because I would think that that's probably not super common, where we knock out the 2, given that, would it be preferable to, what's the heavy lifting on the city side to change to the number? Bill?
May I? On the city side, we have a number of cross-reference records
Just to
in our
confuse.
vault, in our plan room, in file cabinets.
Yeah.
And if we chose to address some of these AKA numbers or mailing addresses to official location addresses, you would have to go and change all of those records over such,
Yeah.
it'll be an immense task. And when we got done changing all those records, would they even be legible? Some of these records are written so small in some of these tie books downstairs to white out and change. I just fear it'd be a mess.
Okay. And then on the same side, on the same token of that, if they come in and they fill out the form, to conform their address. What do they have to do? They don't have to do anything except for change the number on the outside of the house and then just reach out to every single aspect of their life to change their address. Is that correct?
Be just like moving.
Okay, okay. And maybe with that letter, we might get there, so.
I was gonna say, one question that people have mentioned a few times. If their address changes, I don't believe it's gonna harm their deed in any shape
No.
or way. Address is on there, but what counts is the deed
The
description.
meets and the bounds
right?
and all of that, yeah. And
Correct.
it can always be an
Okay.
AKA, it's an easy thing to do.
And the other thing I wanted to say is, I've been in a couple of communities that did do a massive address change, and what they did was they offered street numbers to put on the house. And at the time, I don't know if they still offer this, but the post office used to have a package of postcards that was all geared up for moving, so that you just fill out the postcard and send it to everybody you have to. So we could come up with like a thank you package for changing your number with those items to try to make the process easier for them.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
Councilman Kennedy.
That's why I'm asking for all your input, because we're
Yeah.
gonna need it. So whatever ideas you have, please bring them forward. We'll grant further time on this. We'll hold this over for another month, and we'll go forward from there with all the ideas that come in. But assume there's gonna be questions and answers that need to be, taken and done with, because these people are gonna have an array of questions, so. How many is there that's involved now? 200 and?
240.
240? So you have 240 street addresses that are gonna probably need changing.
And that's the ones that we know of.
Okay, so this is just rough numbers, okay. So we'll go with the rough numbers for now. Because I seen a couple of streets that I know that had an issue because and they're not on here, so we'll bring them forward and then we'll bring them to you.
Pass them along.
Absolutely. So what I'm asking is for a collaborative effort, that we can actually get this done. And if we could do it, I think that we can actually accomplish a lot here and get it done. So that's what I'm looking for. And it's in the name of public safety, because I think that's gonna be an issue. The tax bills was just one way to get it here, and this right now is, I think, we're talking about it, so I think we can come up with some good information to get something out that's probably progressive for it. That would be my grant further time, Mr. Chairman, and ask that the individuals come back at a later date, next meeting in, say, a month, and have them come in with information that we can go forward with something, a plan of action.
Chairman,
Councilman
I'm just gonna ask one idea. I'm gonna give one idea. What if in 2 weeks from now, these individuals can submit something to us via email to look at some sort of a rough draft, so that we're not coming back here in 30 days from now, and then we're going to the next step 30 days later. If they submit something in 2 weeks, or whenever they feel is appropriate amount of time, we could look at it, gather our questions. I can call up Mr. Desmond or Ms. Mescal or whomever, ask a question, and then when we come back here in 30 days from now, then we act on the item.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, no letters will go out anywhere, but, yeah, I think whatever works for your time frame, we could set up, we could lay it over for our next meeting, and in the interim, if you get a burning idea and you want to shoot out an email, absolutely, that way we'll get further along the curve.
Right,
as
and
we
then
go.
we're not coming back here, hearing the ideas for the first time, then we have to lay it over again so that we can create the ordinance and,
Yeah, and clearly that, whatever works in your schedule.
Yeah,
'Cause I
I'm
know
not
you've got
asking
your
for
other
anything
things to do.
unreasonable, whatever
If
is
you
best
have the
for all of you guys.
opportunity and the inclination, fantastic. If not, we get together, we could do it next. Was there anything further on that, Council?
no, that is all.
Councilman Kennedy?
I'm looking forward to working with all of you so that, and this committee can push out something that's gonna be feasible for these people to actually, feel safe. And then, number two, maybe correct some things that we need to be corrected here as well. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Get everybody in the same playing field.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you,
well,
Mike.
Excuse the customary thanks, unless there's other questions. And thank you very much, all of you, for your patience and your input. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for testifying, and sorry that it was a long night.
I guess we have another issue for the city assessor.
Oh,
Might as well hang around.
Everybody else
So,
can go, it's up to you.
The motion before us is to lay this on the table to our next meeting, invite all of the individuals that we hear tonight, and also include the city solicitor. All in favor? All opposed? You're so moved. Which number is that? Mr. Chairman, can we suspend the rules and take item number 6?
Suspend the rules, take item number 6. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Item number 6, this is resolution by Council Leo McKinnon. Does someone from Planning and Development explain why there are individuals taking pictures of properties in and around the village?
We have Mr. Souza before us too as well. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Can we also invite up the mayor's chief of staff, Mr. O'Donnell, first?
Can we also have the chief of staff before us, please? All those in favor? All those opposed? If we could just have names and titles, please.
Good evening. Tony Sousa, Director of Planning and Development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam Davis, City Assessor.
Thank you again.
Kevin O'Donnell, Chief of Staff.
Thank you. Let me see here. Councilman Capone, you have anything on this? Forgot it was my.
Do you want me to just answer the question?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Give an overview on it, if you have.
Overview.
That'd be great.
Pictures are taken by appraisers that have nothing to do with the town. They're taken all the time. They see a sale, they go out on the road, they get all the information they can on the property, take pictures. It's used all the time in appraisals for comps and everything else. The city does take pictures of property, but it's only done by our assistant assessor, and hasn't been done for quite some time of late. The people we have going out and doing building permits do not take photos. So
Okay.
it's all outside people, from my knowledge, that's out there, and it's a very common practice. It's also very legal. As long as you're not trespassing on anyone's property, you can take all the pictures you want.
Okay. Some of these individuals that were calling were saying that they were on their property, though.
Well,
And
then
that was an
they,
issue.
they should tell them to get off the property, but
And
they
call
can't
the
stop
police?
them from taking the photo.
Okay.
But typically, my guess would be it's all the outside appraisers, because there's been an awful lot of sales.
Sure. Now, is that area, Mr. Souza, maybe you could answer this. Is that area, is that designated for any type of sale of properties down there, or maybe maybe a hotel coming in, or a big business?
Yeah, in short, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any knowledge of that. Certainly, as I would just echo what Ms. Davis has stated, that it's very common and typical that certainly appraisers looking at comps, insurance agents, whatnot,
Right.
provided that, I think, in this being, certainly think about public safety and government operations, provided that the folks are on public property.
Sure.
I think it's important. If they are trespassing, then it's a whole other issue. So that's my answer.
Okay. Now, any of our people that would go out, Ms. Davis, they would actually have a badge, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, and they would
Yeah.
actually identify themselves and
Yeah,
who they
whether
are.
there are contractors or their staff, they
Okay.
are all have IDs. If they're contractors, we also have all their names, their vehicle IDs, their registration numbers,
So they
all
would
with
have to
the
register with
police.
you and then go out and, or
Well,
register with
And we
some-
also have letters of introduction. So if they're from, Patriot Properties is our predominant real estate appraisal firm. A company with the acronym RRC does the personal property. They all have badges. They have letters of intro from our office, and they're all called in to the police station. So they can call City Hall, or they can call the police station, and they can verify that they are indeed our people.
Okay. And if it was an outside firm, they wouldn't have the
Same
same?
thing.
Okay, so if
Same
it's an
thing.
outside firm, they have to follow the same procedure.
Mhm.
What if they do not follow that procedure?
If I'm informed of it, they're taken out immediately.
Okay, and that would be police involvement, they would go down and tell them, at this point, they gotta leave.
I've never gone, I've never seen anything go to that point.
Okay, that would be great. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, excuse with customary thanks. Thank you for appearing tonight. And refer it back to Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. You have done so. He's not here. Come on.
All right, item number 5, this is a resolution by Council Napolitano. That the administration consider through community development to set aside funds from the wind project to assist property owners in Everett Square in converting unusable businesses from the second or third floor to residential.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I apologize to the guests that are here. I think under our rules, if there wasn't any notification, and out of courtesy to the sponsor, we should lay it over, but out of courtesy to the folks that are here, if they want to talk about it, then we'll lay it over and invite them back, whatever the body wants to do.
Gentlemen, are you able to talk on this piece tonight?
Would you rather go?
What would you rather do?
It's up to you.
Yes, no? The sponsor was not able to attend tonight, that's why. So if you would like to speak on it briefly, you can, and then we could hold it over. Sure.
No, we prefer to speak on the item.
Okay. Councilors, is there any questions to this? Councilman McLaughlin?
Are we allowed to speak on this item while the sponsor being here,
I'm gonna
Mr.
get
Clerk?
clarity, hold on. From what I'm getting, this is an informal conversation that you would be having. We would
Let's
still
just-
lay this over and have the sponsor become.
Let's just make a motion to lay this over to the next meeting. I apologize to Mr. O'Donnell and Mr. Souza for being here for the last, 6 days. But we'll refer this over till next month's meeting and hopefully have this a lot quicker, and get them out of here next month.
Thank you. We're gonna, excuse with customary thanks. Thank you, gentlemen, for appearing. I'm sorry that you're here tonight for so long. The sponsor, it's been a long meeting. All right. Bye.
All right. Thank you,
The sponsor is not here tonight, so we're gonna lay it over to the next meeting. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you.
Excuse with customary thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, on a motion of personal privilege, please, for 1 second. Can I make a motion to change the word on item number 1 before we adjourn this meeting this evening to make the language in the item a more broad discussion so that we can open it up to additional questions so that we're not out of germane of the subject next month?
What I suggest, you would give it to the clerk of committees and ask him to actually broaden that at that point.
We don't need to take a vote to be able to do that, or do we, Mr. Clerk?
That has to go before the body. So you could resubmit before the body and then actually come before us, again, in government ops.
I'm going to ask the clerk.
I want clarity on that. Does he have to go before the whole body? Or? John, put that on. John, put that on.
If you're changing a resolution order or ordinance, the actual wording is gotta go back to the body. It is gonna be amended.
So, if I may, on that piece.
Councilman Capone?
So, just to make sure that we're doing it right, through you to our clerk, we would have to reconsider this to pull it up before us. Would we refer it out to the body with a recommendation to expand the scope?
Go to the body.
I understand where the council's going with this, and with the staffing issues related to the wind resort. You got the information needed. If you wanna talk about the capital aspects of a new building, of the need for a new building, the need for vehicles, the need for additional equipment, that's probably a piece that should be in Ways and Means, or it should be in a budget process, or in the introduction of the capital plan that's gonna be coming to you in the near future. Those are the questions you're gonna ask at that time. I don't think you wanna refer this back out and refer it back in and delay it. It's up to you.
Counselor, how do you want to handle it?
My question through you, Mr. Chairman, to our able clerk of committees. If I were to refer this back out, change the language, can we get a commitment that you'll put it on for the April meeting? I don't want this to now go to the back of the list to be able to be brought up in June. I want a commitment tonight that you'll put it onto the calendar for the April meeting, so we're not missing a
Counselor,
month.
as a suggestion, why don't we resubmit a new piece to the council, and then we could have it in. to
Which is
formal-
fine, but can we get that before? I don't want to have the chief.
No, I understand.
And then it will come up in the same meeting in April, Mr. Clerk?
Will it come in April?
If you're gonna be talking about capital improvement items, that's gonna necessitate a new building, and equipment, those are money issues. Money issues don't typically go to government operations. That's a Ways and Means or a budget issue. That's the type of issue should be in a delegate.
Okay, my concern, I'm not gonna disagree with my dear friend, but my concern is that the city auditor has asked us for an extension on the CIP for
Sure.
X amount of time, unidentified, so that they can resolve some outstanding issues before they come before us with a CIP plan. That may not come until the first of the new fiscal year or whenever they
2
resolve
months
their
from now.
issues.
That's what they're looking for.
You could address that on a new piece. Your own Ways and Means, Rich's own Ways and Means. You could
Okay.
discuss
You
it.
could refer that into Ways and Means and have that discussed and invite the auditor at that
Okay.
time.
I
So
will-
that would be a suggestion.
Okay, and I apologize for the dialogue back and forth. I was just trying to figure out where to go with this thing.
Absolutely.
I apologize, and thank you, Mr. Clark, for your opinions and information.
Anything else, councilors?
Do we vote on that piece for Peter?
Refer it back,
Moving,
the next meeting?
yeah, move to lay this on the table next meeting, inviting the individuals that were invited.
Second motion.
Motion made to lay this item on the table until next meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Please invite the sponsor again and the individuals that he wanted on that.
Move to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn, I would like to just wish the residents of Everett a happy Easter and a happy Passover this coming weekend. And I wish everybody a happy, healthy, safe holiday weekend. And I'm sure my colleagues would like to do the same.
Councilman Delasola.
Echo the words of my fellow colleague, my colleague here. Enjoy your family Sunday. Life is short, but enjoy everybody at your table and don't eat too much for Monday's meeting.
Councilman Capone.
And the same sentiments. We wish the best to all of our residents. Happy holidays, and spend it with your loved ones.
And I would like to wish the city of Everett a happy Easter and be blessed. Eat a lot of ham, turkey, whatever you're going to do, and enjoy. Mr. Secretary, would you like to say? Sentiments from our secretary. Move for adjournment. All those in favor? All those opposed, you have adjourned.